alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
And a good morning to you.
What?
I'm
Already?
just going to.
What?
I'm going to give myself the relax today. Don't overreact to everything I heard yesterday during middays with Bob Cooney.
Well, you didn't like everything that Daryl Morey had to say? I mean, it's only day 2 of the offseason. I mean, the second round of the playoffs are still going on, man.
I honestly, there is so much that I didn't like. I couldn't wait for the show to start today.
Yeah, John's.
Can't wait.
There's a scary angry that always freaked me out.
Okay, scary angry.
Scary angry to me is not yelling and screaming.
Right. Oh, the
scary
quiet.
angry to me is the quiet. That's when I knew I was in most trouble. Was when my dad, when I'd be growing up, and not the whole I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. No. There's scary angry is one of those things where he's just looking at you. And I'm sure everybody's gone through that at some point in their life. And that's when they're at a loss for words almost. That's when you know you're in freaking trouble.
My child would tell you that is Dad uses his quiet voice.
Well,
when Dad gets quiet, that's when you worry. When Dad gets quiet, that's when you're not happy.
Well, that was John before the show today, Connor. Like, honestly, John's like, I'm saving it for the show. And I'm like,
he's making me nervous.
I'm like, Jesus, like, should I do the show in a different room? So let's get into it. Daryl Morey speaks yesterday.
Yes.
It was about a 45-minute long press conference.
Could have been 25.
I think there was a lot to it. And
Brevity is not his friend.
The reason why you're feeling the way you're feeling today is because there was a lot said. And I will give him credit. He did not run away from answers. He was very good at giving answers as much as he could say. Obviously, he can't say specific players' names.
Oh, absolutely.
But he gave a plan that he wants to try to attack this offseason. So when it comes to honesty, I give Daryl Morey a lot of credit. Do you agree with me there?
When you contradict yourself, are you being honest?
That's a great question.
I don't believe you are.
All right, so
I believe when you contradict your own belief system and your own track record, are you being honest?
And look, there was a lot to that, and we will discuss all of it, I promise. And that's going to be kind of the tenor of the show today, but let's get some of the fluffy stuff out of the way first, okay?
Yeah, let's do fluff first. Let's get to the fluff.
Normally people like to hear the bad news first and the good news second. Now, we're going to do the fluff first, and then John's going to just probably lose his mind throughout the rest of the show.
I'm always bad news
I need you to keep your head on straight today because you got a big night tonight.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about it.
But Daryl Morey, he is excited for the offseason. Take a listen to why he is excited.
This offseason's a big one. I owe it to the fans, to ownership, to everybody to get this team in a place where we're competing for championships, and we obviously didn't achieve that this year. Again, we're very well situated to use all the tools, trade, free agency, draft, to upgrade the team, and, we're going to put every single effort into that. Coach Nurse is going to be right there with us. Besides our 2 great players, we think we have one of the best coaches in the league, and we're excited for the offseason.
All right, so I see you shaking your head. I don't know why there's a single thing you would shake your head at.
They're very well situated.
They are.
Really?
They are very well situated. For this offseason, they are very well situated, John. They have draft picks that they can trade. They have cap space where they can acquire players. Now that Tobias Harris is no longer a member of the Sixers franchise, they have 2 max slots available, one of which will go to Tyrese Maxey. If you were playing Madden or 2K or whatever sporting game you want to play and you were given the canvas, you would probably have fun with that. You're in a good situation. They are probably in the best situation among all teams in the NBA for their current situation. I'm not saying they're built right now to win a championship. I'm saying from the fact that you have 2 great players available. You do have 2 great players on your team, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, right? You can't argue that. And you have all those draft picks, all that free agent money, all, with the new CBA, all the stuff that they can do. They are in a good situation.
They are very well situated, he said. Well, he talks about, first of all, it's my job to championship. By the way, same crap I've heard multiple off seasons. That's the same exact message, almost to the letter of the law that I've heard.
I could grab a press conference from the manager of the Anaheim Ducks. Okay. He'll say the exact same thing.
It's the same exact message. Nothing changes. Groundhog Day. Then we get no, you're not well situated. You've got a ton of money to spend, and again, you're walking into freaking Big Lots. This isn't a great year to have all the money in the world, and you're not well positioned when you look at when you look at this landscape of the NBA, you are not well positioned.
Well, you
to
could
build a
be.
top-heavy team is not how you're winning in today's NBA. You got to have depth. You got to have this, and you can't do it in 1 year. You can't. You can't do what you've done. And more importantly, I don't want them messing around with the few draft picks you got. I don't want them go, well, we got draft picks to use. I don't want that either. Because you know what's going to happen? He's going to push all the poker chips to the middle of the table, trying to win a championship this year.
Not this year.
And then we're screwed.
Not this year. You're not signing a bunch of guys on one-year deals. You're going to sign a guy to a max contract. I know you and
Which
I
I love it. Love it. Yeah.
You and I agree.
I don't
we don't want a Paul George, but it's going to be a player that's going to be on a contract for 5 years. He's not signing 6 guys to one-year contracts. He might have to with some of the vets, but your starters are probably going to be guys on multi-year deals. Like a guy like Kelly Oubre. We talk about Kelly Oubre. Do you think he's going to take a one-year deal at this point? No.
Why
he's
should
going to take a couple of years. So there are multiple options for Daryl Morey to sign guys to more than one-year deals. So I don't think it's pushing the chips in for the 2024-25 season.
If he goes old, it
John,
is.
I will say he's pushing the chips in for whatever window he believes or runway he still has with Joel Embiid. And that I'm totally in favor of. Your only chances of winning a championship are with Joel Embiid. I can't think about 4 or 5 years from now the life without Joel Embiid. So pushing the chips in the middle, to me, is not 24-25. It's however many years you have left with Joel Embiid, and that may only be 3 or 4 more years.
That's okay to think that in a vacuum. It's not okay when you look at their draft pick situation for the future and say, if he starts dealing what little draft capital they have, if he starts dealing that, then you're screwed.
Yeah, but
if this doesn't work out.
A 2026 draft pick for the Sixers means nothing to them right now.
27, 28, and 20, you're screwed into the late 20s.
Yeah, but John, if you trade those away and you win a championship, you're not going to care about the draft pick you could have had in 2028 at pick 30.
And this is where we do not agree philosophically.
Okay.
I don't think they're winning a championship with this guy's plan.
Yeah, but you have to try to do whatever you can to win a championship.
Let's see what Morey has to say.
All right, so Daryl Morey then continues and talks about what they're going to try to do this offseason, and one of those is the best player available, Johnny.
We definitely are looking at fit. I think one of the things that we're excited about is Tyrese. A year ago, it wasn't, if we had polled everyone in the media or all the GMs, it wouldn't have been unanimous that Tyrese could take that step forward that we hoped he could with James leaving and giving him a lot more responsibility. So we definitely look at fit. We're not really focused necessarily on the exact bucket, whether it's max or role player or whatever. We're focused on getting the best players within the CBA constraints, which is basically like you only get so many. You only have so much money.
Okay. I mean, again, I don't see where you can disagree with what he said there.
Okay, what's best player available to you? Just like as far as what? Well, Daryl Morey. What do you think Daryl Morey's saying?
Then I'll just look.
Daryl Morey's saying the best name brand that I can find. And
if a name brand is a better player than a non-name brand, then yes.
Well, no, but he's going to go there. But he's also going to double down on old. You know he is. You know he is.
But he didn't expressly say that. So until he does,
he didn't.
Well, okay. No, Connor. I'm not giving him lets. I'm not giving him any lets.
But John,
I know his track record.
You yourself, look, let's just use LeBron for an example. He's going to be 40 years old, but you're cool with LeBron.
I'm completely in on LeBron James as a transformational player for any franchise he touches.
Okay.
They're not getting LeBron James. And everything I read yesterday and everything I hear yesterday, they're not getting LeBron James. He's not coming here.
Okay.
We can hope it, and I will.
I'll hope it.
And it'd be fun to see.
I'll pray for it.
He's not coming. They're not getting LeBron James. More importantly, it's that then from that point on, I'm not in. I'm just not in on name brands, and I know that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, but
I know that's what he's going to do.
What is a name brand to you? I mean,
he's going to say
there's name brands all across the NBA. It's anybody that's a talented basketball player.
He's tied directly to Paul George by like NBA TV and all that yesterday. Paul George.
It could be Paul George. And again, Paul George.
Footsie for like half the year of the NBA. Everybody in the NBA believes this is what's happening.
And Paul George is a great fit with this team. The only problem is, and I agree with you, is the health concerns. And I am totally concerned about that too, which is why I wouldn't do it.
And the inconsistency of his game.
Okay.
Which has been also, as he's starting.
That's so many NBA players.
Yeah, but if you're talking about a great player, if you're talking about a difference maker, if you're talking about that. If you're talking about Paul George 4 years ago, Andrew, I am completely in. If you're talking about Paul George today, I'm not completely in.
But John, if it's Paul George or you start over, what are you doing? You're going to do Paul George.
Well, then what?
Because your runway is Joel Embiid. That's your runway.
Okay, here's where the runway's going to lead us. The runway's going to lead us to disaster. So just as long everybody knows, it's going to lead us to a chance.
I don't know how you can say that in actuality.
As far as you are going to end up in a position where you're not only going to have depreciated talent, then you're going to have lack of ability to build a team while you're in the rubble. That's what you're going to have.
Well, Daryl Morey's not going to be here during the rubble.
And that's why
Daryl Morey's going to be gone.
And that's why he doesn't care.
Well,
and that's why he doesn't care.
But if you're any president of basketball operations or GM, I understand that sometimes you do have to think about 5-6 years from now. But in the NBA, where it's such a there's 12 guys, man. Like it's not like Howie, right? Howie has to think about down the road because it's a 53-man roster, right? So you have to think about, all right, the guy that I'm drafting in the third round, nobody's ever heard of, Jalix Hump. But we have to hope that he becomes something 3-4 years from now because our edge rushers that we have here now probably won't be here 3-4 years from now. It's so much different.
You got so many more bodies.
Right. It's so much different
it is completely.
in the NBA.
I'm bringing him in just against his peers. He's not watching the NBA. He's not watching the playoffs. He's not watching how teams are. This is not an old man's game. It's not an old man's game. It is it is about teams that have done things to build up through the ranks, to go through creating depth, to create larger rosters.
Yeah, but John,
they had a thing on the game last night in the Knicks Pacers.
Okay.
How coaches are using more players today than they've ever used in the playoffs. How they would go short benches in the era of Riley, in the era of Coach Brad, whatever.
Now
they would use. Now it is in the NBA now. They're lengthening benches like they never have before. They're finding minutes for other players. They're doing things like that. You've got it. If you go top heavy with this roster, you are not going to be able to have the depth. And by the way, the depth is what killed you in this series. What killed you in this series?
Well, then I'll ask you the question. Do you believe that Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey alone, in terms of, you're saying you don't want to go top heavy. You have those two guys. Are those two guys good enough to uplift a bunch of other role players?
I absolutely would rather take that tact. I honestly would. I'd rather take the tact of finding players that are complementary pieces while I'm watching the frickin' New York Knicks continue to play while they find players like that. They've got one guy. Who isn't the caliber? Well,
no, he's not.
He's the caliber of Maxey. If
right.
he's not, he might even be a little better. And he's not even close to Embiid as far as how he impacts a game. And they find a way to build a roster of players that then complements that. I think that it's
sometimes, John, and I've said this a million times, sometimes luck goes into it. And the Sixers, by the way, have been the Sixers situation is so much different than so many NBA teams because you have to hope and pray that your best player stays healthy, number one. Right? I know that's a hope and prayer for every single team in the NBA, but there's a track record with Joel Embiid, right? Like there's a track record that he's going to get hurt at some point.
And what did the guy that Connor, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, what did the guy that you're trying to tell me to trust? What did he do when he looked at the roster?
I'm not telling you to trust him.
Okay, but what did he do when Joel Embiid, he has Joel Embiid, did he get us a body that could get Joel Embiid 8 minutes of rest in a postseason series? He did not.
No,
he did not.
Thought they did.
But he didn't.
Right.
He didn't. I don't care what he thought he did.
I don't care what he thought.
You
John,
have one plan, and if one plan
it's reported they tried getting Andre Drummond, right? They legitimately tried getting Andre Drummond. The Chicago Bulls, for whatever reason, did not want to trade him.
And if you have one plan, and that one plan falls through, then that's crazy town.
Unless they go, all right, the next big that we could have gotten is not that much better than Paul Reed. We might as well stick with Paul Reed. Well, I mean, that may have been what their mindset was. That may have been his thought process.
It was wrong, but it might be his thought process.
You don't have to tell me. You know how I got you.
I know how you feel.
B-ball,
But I'm saying is that I don't trust, when I hear him speak, I don't trust the message.
You don't have to trust the message. All you have to do is not speak in absolutes about the guaranteed that this is not going to work out. I know the track record says. The track record is not the future, all right? We need to live in a world where there's a possibility that this works, or else there's no point of doing this.
No, and I agree with you, Connor. And, John, I'll ask you this question. So do you think Tyrese Maxey is good enough to carry a team?
I love the fact that I would absolutely want to surround Maxey and Embiid with talent.
I know.
Do
you think
players.
Tyrese Maxey can carry the team with a bunch of players?
To a championship?
Or
what are you talking about? Top of the conference? Are you talking about being like a true championship
the Knicks
contender?
are the 2 seed, right? You said it's Jalen Brunson and a bunch of guys, right?
Absolutely.
So you think Maxey can be that guy?
I think Maxey could absolutely.
The reason why I asked that question is because you know Embiid's going to miss time at some point.
Absolutely.
So Maxey's going to need help.
Yeah, and he's and the number one thing you're going to need is a backup plan for Joel Embiid.
No, absolutely.
That you didn't address last offseason, which you could have addressed.
I would say that's actually not the number one thing. I would say that
it honestly, is it not what cost you the series with the Knicks?
No. I think what cost you the series with the Knicks is not having a wing player, and Daryl Morey talked about that.
I would say the biggest need is, not at their position, someone at the wing who can play and deliver at a high level in the playoffs. That's the biggest need, yeah.
I mean,
that's fair.
But that's what Tobias Harris didn't give you. That's what you hoped. I mean, look, I love Kelly Oubre. I love the story. I love everything about Kelly Oubre, right?
Right.
I can't rely on Kelly Oubre. The guy's a journeyman in the NBA.
You want Oubre to be a part of a picture.
I've always wanted him.
Not a critical part.
I've always wanted him since the day they signed him to be coming off the bench. But because of the Anthony Mellon's injury, the James Harden trade, everything that went into it, Kelly Oubre ended up having to be a starter on this team. Perfect situation for me. Kelly Oubre is your microwave coming off the bench, right? A guy that can he doesn't need to pass the ball. He just needs to be unconscious. Go shoot. If you miss 3 shots, keep shooting, kid. Right? That's Kelly Oubre. He had a start on this team.
I will tell you that in every loss, if not 3 of the 4 losses in the Knicks series, you lost because of the Embiid minutes off the floor.
That was a big part of it, yeah.
And somehow they didn't have a plan for it, or the plan that they thought they had for it was a complete miscalculation. It's one of the things that has just got me saying, when I'm hearing the vision and the talk and everything, I'm questioning everything. I think Daryl Morey is every right to be questioned on everything.
Yes, I questioned his lack of, I think, understanding of what a good backup big is. I've complained about the lack of a backup point guard. Now, the acquisition of Kyle Lowry was pretty big for Tyrese Maxey, I do believe, and I think Lowry just lost energy because he's 38 years old, right?
And by the way, I questioned the Lowry signing when it was done. Again, when they got Lowry, I questioned it, sort of rolled my eyes. He ended up being much more than I expected him to be. So that's a check mark in Daryl Morey's column.
Yeah.
It ended up running out of gas at the end.
I want this to be clear. I don't think Daryl Morey is the greatest GM, president of basketball operations ever. Right?
And
I've said to you multiple times, I do think he's overrated. But what he said yesterday, there are a lot of things I agreed with. There are a lot of things I disagree with, and we will talk about them as the show continues. But those first 3 clips that I played for you, I wanted to do the fluff pieces first because I don't see how you can disagree with. They aren't a good situation when it comes to having to rebuild a team. And having 2 stars already. They are. It's smart to go best player available, and they need a wing. Like those 3 clips that I played for you, I did it for a reason. I wanted to get the fluff pieces out of the way because those 3 things I can't disagree with.
And in theory, everything you say makes sense. But in practicality, it does not. Because you cannot think, well, we're in a great position when you know that the shelves are bare. This is.
But you're looking at only free agency.
You're rolling
John.
into the Giant. You are rolling into the Giant, and it's the day before a snowstorm. The shelves are bare.
But you're looking at only free agency. There's going to be so many trade options. You know what's going to happen. There's going to be a disgruntled star.
What are you trading for?
You have $1 billion first-round picks that you don't care about.
No, you don't have $1 billion, honestly, because you've traded away future ones.
You have future first-round picks at your disposal that you can use.
But then you'll have none. You would have none until the 2030s.
And you know what? If I'm Daryl Morey, I don't give a freaking crap about the 2030s.
I know he doesn't. But Andrew,
John, Andrew Salciunas, don't care about 2030s.
Okay.
I'm trying to get through 2024.
This is where the problem lies, is that long after Daryl Morey's gone from making these decisions, I'll still be a Sixers fan. I give a damn.
And if Daryl Morey wins a championship, we're celebrating him forever.
Sure we would. If he did, yes. It's a great theory. I'm looking at NBA champions yesterday and just saying, how many have been built like this? And my answer that I came up with was none.
Okay, and the champions that you talk about, they lucked out getting Kobe and Shaq, Tim Duncan, David Robertson, right? Like, those teams all had the NBA is the biggest dynasty league.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Once you win one, you can win 6. Talk to Jordan and LeBron about that.
Because you may only have to change 2 or 3 parts.
Right, absolutely. But you need to get there first. And I think Daryl Morey is doing whatever he can to at least get there. All right, we'll continue the conversation. I told you I got the fluff pieces out of the way. We're disagreeing about the fluff.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think we'll agree on something coming up next. Morey talked about something that they weren't prepared for, as you kind of alluded to. And I have a problem with it because it's something you absolutely have to be prepared for. I'll tell you what next. And also, the Phillies sweep the Giants. We'll get into some Fighting Phils conversation coming your way next. An incredible stretch right now for the Phillies, winners of 6 straight. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Tuesday morning, talking a lot about Daryl Morey's press conference yesterday, to which I do give him credit for, where he gives a lot of honest answers, right? He does give a lot of honest answers, whether you like said answers or not, or if you believe he's contradicting some of the things he's done in the past.
Yes.
He speaks honestly. He doesn't do a lot of GM speak, except for like Tobias Harris. But for the most part, he's giving you honest answers, which is something I appreciate. So we'll get to some more clips coming up in this segment. But first, I can't not show love to the freaking red-hot Phillies, who have won now 6 straight games and completed a 4-game sweep of the San Francisco Giants. Zach Wheeler yesterday, freaking tremendous as usual. The bats continue to be hot in Philadelphia. I think hitting season is officially here. Is that?
Is it really?
Is that true?
Have you checked with Charlie? Because if Charlie says it, Connor, you're Charlie's valet.
I'll shoot him a text.
Yeah, shoot him a text. Make sure it's hitting season.
Because if it's not hitting season, man, they're fooling me. They're fooling me.
But it's beautiful, man.
It is beautiful.
Yesterday, you have 2 home runs, Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper going yards. So Bryce Harper's bat coming to life. As we all expected it, right? Like, obviously, it was a bit of a slow start, but Bryce Harper's bat starting to turn around. It's a shame Alec Boehm's hitting streak comes to an end yesterday, but he's just tearing the cover off the ball. Nick Castellanos, 2 more hits yesterday. That's a good sign, right?
And 2 walks, I think.
And 2 walks. So
that was really
day,
good.
A great day at the plate for Nick Castellanos. Hopefully that starts
Liam was there.
Turn things over. Maybe that was a big part of it.
I was wondering if that could have been the good luck charm with Liam in the building.
And then Zach Wheeler, dude, he just goes out there, 7 strong, 4 hits allowed, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts, 0 earned runs. And remember, his last start was a bad start for Zach Wheeler against the Angels.
He stunk in that one, didn't he?
Where he goes 5 innings, just 5 innings, allows 1 earned run. It was a solo shot, struck out 6 and walked 1, and he didn't have it that night. Remember, oh man, Zach Wheeler doesn't look like he has his best stuff today, and he still gives a better outing than 95% of Major League Baseball.
That's the one where my wife said, yeah, I think they got to get Zach out of there.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, honey, he's given up 1 run.
So here's Wheeler in his last 4 starts. So I'll go 1 start before that. On April 14th against the Pirates, he went 5 innings where he allowed 4 earned runs. He still struck out 10 in that game, but he allowed 4 earned runs. His ERA ballooned up to 3. Ballooned up to 3 in that outing, John.
Yes.
Since then, his ERA dropped to 1.64 because he's allowed 1 earned run in his last 4 starts, which has been 25 1/3 innings. He's only allowed 11 hits during that stretch. In 4 starts, 25 1/3 innings, he's allowed 11 total hits, and he struck out. I'm doing all this math off the top of my head, which is pretty impressive.
Is this the Salciunas calculator, or do you have this?
No, this is just a quick math off the top of my head. He's also struck out 33 batters in his last 4 starts.
He is so dominant and so comfortable watching him pitch. And yesterday, he issued a 4-pitch walk with a runner on second base with 2 outs. And my wife is like, he just walked him on 4 pitches. I said, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, that was Conforto. He was working around the guy.
And it was perfect. And he just attacks.
And it's amazing. I saw Connor. I saw your tweet yesterday where he's been worth every penny. Man, he was worth every penny when they first brought him in.
Right.
Let alone the extension that he got. And I know a lot of people are pointing out how much money it was. It was the likes of a Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, and he does not have, the same trophies as those guys. Those guys are.
But he's available to pitch.
Which
is really nice. Which
Absolutely,
is like, if you're going to pay him like those guys, I'm not paying him to be on the DL.
And if you look at his numbers over the last couple of years, he absolutely deserves to get the money that those guys get. And he's just backing it up. He's been tremendous. So just such a hot start to this team. And I'll revisit what I said yesterday. They have become what I believe nightly, or in yesterday's case, afternoon, must-watch TV.
It was
even
beautiful.
For the casual Phillies fan right now. They're 25-11, dude.
And here's one of the best things, too. We realize it, and it is funny because I hadn't noticed it, and then now I'm noticing it, the fact that other fan bases trying to go, don't look at what the Phillies are doing. They're playing all the bad teams. This is what we've complained about the Phillies in the past,
right?
Is that they putz around with bad teams and don't do what you need to do. Take care of business. They're mopping the floor of these teams. And by the way, your next 12 games are against teams with losing records.
Yeah, you should be able to keep on handling business.
You should keep padding the record here. After these 2 with the Blue Jays at home, you've got Marlins, then a weird split series with the Mets, at the Mets for 2, home with the Mets for 2, and then you got 3 with the Nats at home. You've got a chance right now to be able to take care of business against non-winning teams without winning records.
Absolutely, and they're doing that right now. And look, I'll go back to what I saw when I was down in spring training. I saw a bunch of guys that were motivated. Every player that I talked to said, look, we're still that fun group of guys. I mean, look, you still see Stott and Brandon Marsh doing the celebration after every game, dumping the water and the seeds and the bubble gum on whoever was the player of the game. But there's a more of a business-like feel this year. And that's what I got out of being down in spring training. We had Tim Kirkjian on right before the season started. He said the exact same thing. Buster Allen, he said the exact same thing.
Buster picked them to win the World Series.
Yeah, against the New York Yankees. Everybody got the same sense that I did. I mean, just a couple of seam heads, that there is a business-like feel with this team right now.
What does that mean to you, Connor, that they have a business-like? Like when you hear Andrew say that, what's it mean to you when you watch them?
I mean, they know how close they are.
And they realize they missed out on a huge opportunity last year.
That too, 100%. They know the opportunity they have in front of them, and they know that if they let this pass without finding a way, like if this core team doesn't win a championship, they missed a major opportunity.
Yeah, and not one player or member that, like Larry Bowe, I spoke to Larry when I was down spring training. Sure. Not one player or member of an organization, or even Jason Stark, not one of them said, yeah, well, you know what, we ran into a hot Diamondbacks team. They all said, we should have won that series. You want to talk about bulletin board material? They straight up said it. They didn't run from it. And they didn't run from the fact that they know that they choked away the series.
Yes, and that's something that I admire, the self-awareness.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at it right now, though, and just saying the numbers are stupendous. If you talk about, if you get to the month of June and you get there with like 35 wins in the bank.
It's great.
Maybe even more. It just makes you, in the summer, it makes you recession-proof.
So you're 10 wins away from the month, from 35. And it's May 7th.
That's incredible.
It's May 7th.
It is. You get there with like 35 to 40 wins. Then the summer becomes stressless because when you do have the inevitable 5-game streak where your bats go nuts, or maybe one of your starting pitchers heads to a little slump, they put together a month that isn't. This offense can ride some of these things out.
Absolutely.
It's so much fun to watch. They're very enjoyable to watch. But there is a business-like approach to it.
Yeah, and you're seeing it, and that's why they're going out there and beating the bad teams, right?
Yeah,
they're not we'll be able to handle this one tonight. No, they're going out there and saying we have to win this game, and they're doing that a lot with now a 25-11 record. So we'd love to just get some overall Phillies excitement. You can climb in on the phone line or the text line, 610-632-0975. That's more of the fluff piece today. Because
it is fun, though.
It is fun. It's so much. It's fun
fluff.
That's
a fun fluff piece.
But the contentious stuff that we'll get into all show long, as you could tell just from the first segment, was what Daryl Morey had to say yesterday. And there are some things that I think you and I will agree on.
As far as rolling our eyes at?
Yes.
Or not?
Rolling eyes.
I rolled my eyes listening on The Fanatic.
Well, how about this? This is something that you and I will definitely both agree with. Daryl Morey yesterday, and I can't believe we're still hearing this. I understand, look, there's a drop-off from Joel Embiid to whoever your backup center is. There was a drop-off to Andre Drummond, right? Like, we talk about Andre Drummond as if he's Wilt Chamberlain. But there was a drop-off from Embiid to Drummond.
Just the bottom line. If Andre Drummond was your backup center, you win the series against the Knicks, period.
You could make that case.
You lost the series because of the Joel Embiid sit-out minutes. Well, that's the easiest thing to look at.
Daryl Morey talked about how they need to be better prepared without Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I thought we really challenged Coach Nurse this year. That long stretch without Joel was tough. I feel like I could have done a better job with the players so that we were in a better spot to win without him. That said, we do spend 90% of the time figuring out how to win the title with him. It can't be a big focus how we play without him. We know that team can't win a championship. It's really just how do we manage through it better. I felt like on me the depth wasn't quite there when he was out to win at the level we wanted to win at. I do think it was good for Tyrese and his development that, he had to carry a huge burden during that period. But it's, we spend most of our time on how to win when Joel is here. I think that's the right thing. But we'd like to do better in those situations as well.
All right. I totally get what he's saying in terms of look, when I'm building a roster, I'm not building a roster with Joel Embiid not on the floor, right? You're building that's what they did at the trade deadline. Let's make a bunch of trades that would fit around Joel Embiid. I get what he's saying there. But, Daryl, you know that it's at least 20 games that Joel Embiid will not be playing in, right? We can all agree that Joel Embiid will miss.
He's going to miss 20 games.
Also, there are at least 8 minutes in a game where he should not be on the court.
I can't believe it because of the fact that this just baffles me. It baffles me that I was being told by people that I trust with great basketball IQs saying to me, it doesn't matter who the backup is. Embiid, what is he out 8 minutes a game? What's 8 minutes a game? You're not going to worry about that.
It's a lot if the other team goes on a run every single time.
It absolutely costs you. And to not have a better plan, and I do not want to hear one more time, and I'm just telling you, I do not want to hear one more time. Well, they thought they could get Andre Drummond, and they didn't. The Bulls decision.
Well, and
you don't go into it with one plan.
I have complained about Daryl Morey. He does we'll wait till the buyout market. And then the buyout market comes, and the players that he thought would get bought out don't get bought out. And then instead of getting Robin Lopez, you get Willie Cauley-Stein.
And by the way,
on a 10-day contract.
He doubled down on this later in the day, talking about the fact of, I like to build a roster where I can manipulate along the way. I mean, to me, you have to have a better plan going in because one thing I've learned under Daryl Morey, the buyout market is nothing for him.
Right.
It's nothing for him. It's not one of his tools in the toolkit. And for whatever reason, he isn't delivering players in the buyout market that other franchises can over and over again. So why he would consider that as a fallback plan doesn't make sense to me.
I don't disagree with you. Now, one thing that bothered me.
All right.
He talks about how he needs better plans when Joel Embiid's not around. Mm-hmm. He tipped his hand yesterday about Paul Reed. Take a listen to the players he thinks will be coming back.
As you might expect, we have all options on the table. Trade, into the future, so we keep more picks available for future trades. If we do pick, I'm excited about who's there. We could trade back, pick up a player. I do like having a good core of young players. I feel like we're developing that with Paul and Ricky Council. Hopefully, either the 16th pick or whatever pick we end up with in the draft. I do think you want to have a few young players who are pushing your vets, but we're mostly going to be a veteran-laden team. After an offseason where there's going to be a lot of change, just, except for Nick Nurse, Joel, and Tyrese, and Paul, and Ricky, we don't know for sure who's going to be back next year.
So wait a minute. He said Nick Nurse, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul Reed, and Ricky Council. So here's the deal. You are admitting that you need better depth, you need better options for when Joel Embiid is not in the court.
But you're going to double down on Paul Reed.
Which you have the opportunity to void his contract after losing in the first round.
You understand that was the first one that I let out the audible gasp of just, what the hell are you talking about? I'm serious.
Okay, I know I'm a little biased because I'm not the biggest Paul Reed fan. So I'm going to ask Connor's thoughts on this next, okay? Because I know I'm biased. I don't want him on the roster. But I think it's kind of, I don't know, crazy to say we need to improve in certain areas, but we're going to bring back the guy that was unplayable in the playoffs?
Unbelievable.
All right, we have more from Daryl Morey coming your way next and more Philly stuff. John saw something yesterday that fired you up. There was a different man playing shortstop yesterday because of an injury. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Kincade and Salciunas on this spirited Tuesday morning. Reacting to Daryl Morey's press conference yesterday, there was a lot of things said, some that I believe was good and some things that I can't disagree with, but then, of course, things that I didn't like hearing, which I think is John's full takeaway. Like, is there anything that you liked hearing yesterday?
I admire that. I do admire exactly what you led with today, is that I don't believe he was using a ton of GM speak.
Okay.
And I also think that he, for the most part, was very self-aware.
Yes.
So I will give him, that is what I will lead with that.
We'll revisit this later on the show because it's on the handy-dandy show sheet.
Yep.
But I asked you guys the question yesterday, what's something that you wanted to hear? And you said you wanted him to take responsibility.
Like accountability.
And
I think for the most part he did that.
There were some things. Yeah, exactly. All right. Now, before we get to these next clips and what you saw yesterday in the Phillies game that got you all fired up, I want to ask Connor the question that I posed because I know I'm biased.
You are.
I know people realize I'm not a Paul Reed fan. I think people are starting to realize why, because he was unplayable in the playoffs, because I don't think he's a great basketball player. I think he's athletic and can do things. Like, he blocked a shot in Game 6, but I don't think he's an overall great basketball player. And sometimes I'd rather have my backup big just be really good at what they're doing, or at least one craft. How many times have we talked about the backup catcher needs to either be really good at defense or really good at hitting?
Or really good at DJing.
Or really good at DJing, apparently. I'll ask you, Connor, is it crazy for me to get upset when Daryl Morey says, I need to do a better job at putting together a team for when Joel Embiid is not on the court, but then eventually saying Paul Reed's coming back?
Yes.
I'm crazy?
You're nuts.
Okay, go on.
You're being too close-minded with what he's saying. He's not saying Paul Reed is the answer to being better with Embiid off the court.
Okay.
He's saying Paul Reed is one of the 4 players currently going to be under contract for the Sixers. Maxey is kind of the one roped in there because we know he's going to be here. But the only other guys with actual standing contracts are Embiid, Paul Reed with the potential void.
Potential.
And Ricky Council. And here's the thing. There are 15 guys on the roster. If Paul Reed is the 14th guy on the roster, you can win the Embiid minutes. Daryl Morey did not say Paul Reed is the answer to being better without Embiid.
What was Paul Reed supposed to be this year?
He was supposed to be the backup big.
So then you cannot tell me that then, well, now we're supposed to assume him as 14.
Do you think Daryl Morey didn't see the series? Like, no, Daryl Morey's not going to defend Paul Reed as the answer to Joel Embiid's deficiencies.
I would hope not.
But if he's on the roster, you could still bring in another backup big.
Right. You had Mo Bamba
Paul Reed is now
potential
Mo Bamba.
backup. Well, okay, I would hope so.
And then you bring in another guy. So, yes, like, that's the thing. He's not giving you answers on what the roster is going to be. He's giving you an idea.
I watched that man play basketball.
I know.
And my skin crawls.
Why does he not see? What does he see in Paul Reed that we don't?
Listen, if
athleticism. Look, to Paul Reed's defense, he didn't play center in college. So he's still trying to learn a new position.
Well, it's been like 5 years.
I mean, come on.
I know, but was he coached well enough? Blah blah blah. I don't want to defend the guy because I don't want him on the roster. But maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they still think they can turn him into something. He did have good games this year.
There'd be no reason to have him be the last guy on the roster. There'd be no reason to pay somebody at that rate.
That's a good point.
To be the last guy on the roster.
Somebody's got to be there.
Yeah, but no, not at that pay rate. You don't. Absolutely not.
I'd rather you give a very cheap option.
Correct.
You can also think upside.
There's
I don't know what Paul Reed's upside or floor is. Like I don't know. All I know is
what his upside.
I watch him play basketball and it drives me crazy.
I got you. I'm not trying to defend Paul Reed. I'm saying that they can easily make a move to make Paul Reed not matter.
Okay. All right.
But if they're paying Paul Reed, that's dumb.
It's the James Bradbury thing. I don't know. They might think they still have something out of him, but they're not relying.
No, it's not James Bradbury.
They literally have the opportunity to avoid it.
They can walk away and say, I'm done.
I understand, but it's the same kind of principle where you believe there's a little bit of something there.
Daryl Morey got bullied into keeping him last year by the fan base because of out the mud. And now he's going to feel like he needs to keep him again for whatever reason when he doesn't have to.
It makes no sense. It really doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
All right, we'll continue.
Mm-hmm.
Your boy Stoddy was at shortstop yesterday.
Loved it. Loved it because he's the best shortstop on the roster. He's the best guy to play shortstop on the roster. And Bryson Stott, this is a perfect opportunity to talk about it, making the switch with Stott and Turner. Turner's going to be here long term. Turner's awesome. He's with his bat playing like he is this year, it's amazing. But this is the perfect opportunity to see he's a better shortstop than Trey Turner. Trey Turner was the worst shortstop in Major League Baseball last year. When you have a deficiency at a position, it's an easy switch.
Well,
go on.
You got to look at the aggregate fielding. Is Trey Turner worse at second than he is at shortstop?
He's not going to be worse at second.
How can
because many times when someone has declining skills at short, where they're not covering the ground or they move them to second. It is the move in baseball that has been done ad infinitum.
No, I got you, but it's like when you have a lineman injured and we talk about moving Lane Johnson to Jordan Mailata's spot. Do you want to create 2 holes to fill one?
Well, you're not creating 2 holes.
But here's the thing. Well, first off, Bryson Stott is a tremendous shortstop.
I know, but he's a Gold Glove second baseman.
Right. Now, he could become a Gold Glove shortstop. We don't know. I will say this. I was against earlier in the year when you wanted them just to flip like that. I was against it. But you do have maybe 6 weeks.
Right.
Like, this is a different situation.
To say boo. And someone will go, well, he made an error yesterday. He hasn't played there in forever. And more importantly, he made 2 great plays at short yesterday.
Well, that's why I said earlier in the year, I don't want to just switch it because he did make an error. Give him a spring to get used to it short.
I promise you
But he's got 6 weeks now.
Stott won't make enough errors to be the worst shortstop in baseball.
And if Trey Turner's coming back, you do know he's going to probably play a couple games in AAA. He'll probably play. You could put him at second base. We'll see. It's a storyline to follow. All right, we got more Daryl Morey stuff to react to coming your way next. You mentioned it, John. Daryl Morey likes to build during a season. I don't want to hear that. And there's a very specific reason why I don't want to hear it. I'll tell you what that is next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. on this Tuesday morning, reacting to what Daryl Morey had to say yesterday during his end-of-season press conference, to which we all agree it was nice, the honesty that he gave. It was not really filled with GM speak, but that doesn't mean we have to agree with everything that's been said. Now, just to kind of reset where we are, because we're now 1 hour into the show. We started off the show with more of the fluff pieces from yesterday about how Daryl Morey is excited for the offseason. He believes that they are in a good position this offseason. John rolled his eyes at it. I don't see how you can disagree with an offseason knowing what you have. Two stars.
Great position.
2 stars, a max slot available, a lot of cap space available, and a lot of movable draft picks. I don't see how you can disagree with that, John.
That they're in a great position to do what?
To try to rebuild a team that still has a championship window. They're in the position that they are in, right? Like, they're in this position.
They made.
But it's not like they are, like last season was the end of the era.
What are how about this? Can we just put it to you this way? If everybody or whoever it is wants me to be like positive on it, can you tell me what of the vision of Daryl Morey has worked?
It's not about the vision.
It is about his vision.
John,
it's about every bit of his vision.
John, you're right. You're taking a step that we're not ready for yet. We will get there.
That's fine.
All they're saying is they have assets and they have
a lot
space.
of assets.
But
we're not saying he's going to get it right. We're saying he's right to say he has opportunity.
Like, you want to talk about situations, right?
Right.
I'd much rather be the Sixers than the Lakers right now. The Lakers
I would rather be the Sixers than the Lakers.
The Lakers might lose LeBron. They'll have an injury-riddled Anthony Davis. And all those picks that they have traded for guys like Rory Hachimura, they have nothing.
I would absolutely agree with you. I'd rather be the Sixers than the Lakers.
The Sixers have Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, picks, cap space, and they, as you have pointed out, they were 3 wins away from being the 2 seed.
Do I want to be the Sixers more than – and this is what I would look at. Would I rather be the Sixers or the Celtics? Would I rather be the Sixers or the Knicks?
Of course you'd rather be the Celtics.
Okay, would I rather be the Knicks? I'd rather be the Knicks.
I mean, we've all said that the Sixers were more talented and should have won that series.
Rather be would you rather be the Bucks?
That's an interesting one.
That's an interesting one, but I think I'd rather be the Bucks.
I'll take no Doc Rivers,
with their
please.
pieces.
I mean, look, that's a very interesting one. I don't know how you feel about Dame. I don't know how you look. Well,
I'm not the biggest.
You want to talk about injuries? Giannis is always injured come playoff time now too. So like, you know what? Their situations might be more similar. I like their third player better in Chris Middleton than what the Sixers have had to offer. But the Sixers might get a third player that can be comparable to Chris Middleton.
I got to tell you, I like what the Magic have cooking. I like what the Cavs have cooking. I really do.
They might lose Donovan Mitchell. So if they lose Donovan Mitchell, then the Cavs have nothing cooking.
I don't think they will, but
the bonfire's out. There's no cooking left with the Cavs.
I wouldn't want to be. I can't think of anybody that towards the top of the West that the Sixers are even in breathing room with.
Well, you don't have to worry about that to the finals. You don't. I don't have to worry about Nikola Jokic until the finals except for 2 games during the regular season.
I'm talking about a championship contender. John,
let's get to round 3 first. It's been 23 freaking years.
Okay, well,
let's get to round 3.
If this is about just building a team that can win a second-round series, then, yeah, I can get excited. Woo!
John, how many times have you pointed out that you want this talking point to end? And how many times have you said that being a Final Four team means you're close?
But I want to end with an actual opportunity that I feel they can build something they can win.
If you're in the Eastern Conference Finals, you have an actual opportunity. Since when does an Eastern Conference Finals team not have an opportunity?
They have an opportunity. They're there. If they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're there.
So you got to get there.
But there's so many other teams on the pecking order, no matter what the Sixers do.
I'll tell you right now, whatever the Sixers do this offseason, I will say they're a better team than the Orlando Magic. I don't even have to think twice about it. I like the Orlando Magic. They're a fun young team to watch. They're a very fun young team to watch. There's no doubt in my mind that next year the Sixers are higher in the standings than the Orlando Magic as long as Joel Embiid stays healthy. I'll put money on it right now.
That's a great if that is the case.
Put a limb on it, coward.
Unfortunately, I can't give you the bet and go if Embiid stays healthy. I can't give you the bet if it's that.
Well, I understand that.
Because of the fact that it
never avoids it.
Because the fact that it never happened.
Well, avoids
which
the
is
bet.
another thing that we're betting on.
Well,
something that never happened.
But you have to. I mean, unfortunately, John, you have to. You have to bet on the Joel Embiid thing. There until the day he is gone, you have to bet on it. That's just kind of the way it is.
Also, the Bucks, real quick, they're 21st in the NBA in cap space. The Sixers are 2nd.
Yeah, like the Sixers are in a great position, John. Like I know it sucks that we have to do this again. We have to do this again where it's going to be another new team, and that's something that freaking drives me crazy. I'm tired of hearing the same excuse of, well, we only had X amount of time.
And that is one of the things that Daryl Morey has used more than once.
And so I have a problem with something that he said.
What did he say?
So yesterday, he talked about something he likes to do, and that's building not just before the season, but also during the season. And it's something that he has talked about multiple times in his tenure here in Philadelphia. And I know he talked about it, during this season about the trade deadline, and he said it about in years past. I remember when I was at the Sixers Gala, I did the show with Tyrone and Bob Cooney. And he said, don't judge us today. Judge us on the roster come the end of the regular season. He kind of talked about that more again yesterday.
We have a lot of tools this offseason, more than most teams in our situation, with more draft picks, more cap space, 2 great players. But we'll have to see how the offseason goes and then how we play. As you know, I tend to not be someone who says, let's make sure the roster is perfect on day one. I like building the roster over time, even throughout the season.
Here's my problem with that. It's once more the excuse of, well, we only had X amount of time to play together.
And he uses that. So he contradicts himself. I like building the roster as we go along. And over again, he swings and misses in the veteran buyout market. He doesn't attract people to come play for his team because I would think guys in the veteran buyout market are saying, what's the best opportunity I have to go win a ring? He can't sell people on his vision. He can't sell other NBA players on his vision. And to me, how do you keep wanting to do the same thing when it fails?
And again,
it is
relying on
philosophy.
Trades like Andre Drummond that never became available.
That don't materialize.
And look, that is something I have a problem with when it comes to Daryl. I have spoken with Daryl Morey face to face, where he says, well, we'll look at the buyout market. Again, I'll bring up the example I used earlier in the show. They wanted, it was my understanding, Robin Lopez a few years ago when Robin Lopez was on the Orlando Magic.
Absolutely.
The Magic all of a sudden were asking for 2 first-round picks for Robin Lopez, which is, you're smoking crack if you think you're going to get 2 first-round picks for Robin Lopez. But that was the asking price. Robin Lopez never ended up getting traded. Robin Lopez never ended up getting bought out. Who did these Sixers get in the buyout market? They got Willie Cauley-Stein
because he miscalculated
on a 10-day contract.
So for another year where the Sixers were in contention,
yes,
Daryl Morey bet on one thing, it wasn't available, and we got left with poop in the diaper.
Right.
I can't do it anymore. I can't do it with it. At that point, you say, you know what? I've been burned once. I've been burned again. And if I talk about the window we have with Joel Embiid is small, and it's a small window, and I've now, with that philosophy, blown it numerous times. I can't just sit here and hear him tell me again that that's going to be the freaking plan.
Right, and look,
and you have every right to. And if you're sitting there buying it and lapping it up, I'm going to question what you're watching.
And look,
I
understand making trades to try to get a piece.
Oh yes,
I
absolutely.
get that. Like Buddy Hield was that piece that you tried getting, but like we're talking about this canvas, right? It's an open canvas.
Oh yeah.
I don't want the canvas to still be. Oh well, you know what? I'm going to leave a little space. Come trade deadline time, and then I'll finish my work of art. No, I want this team to play 82 games together. We have already talked about zero continuity on this team. They haven't been able to play all that much. Well, you have an opportunity to build a roster that could hopefully play close to 82 games together. Obviously, injuries are going to happen, but man, I don't want to kick the can down the road.
You can't use lack of continuity as an excuse over and over again, and then not give your organization continuity and say that's not what you're about. It doesn't make sense.
All right, I know we've been talking our heads off at first hour and 10 minutes. I know there are people coming in on the text line that want to chime in, and I apologize that we have not opened the text line yet or the call-in line. You can call in or text in at 610-632-0975. I have a couple more Daryl Morey clips that I'm going to get to during this segment because there is a lot to react to from yesterday. But, Connor, what do we have on the text line?
Yeah, so we have a text here, no name on this one. They say, the Sixers have 5 tradable first-round picks. I'll gladly give up all 5 to try to win in the next 3 years.
Absolutely.
I don't care about the future as long as Embiid is wearing a Sixers jersey.
They don't have 5, though, because some of them are gone if you If some of them are like
you can't trade back-to-back first round.
Correct. So you don't have 5. You do not have 5 to trade.
What do they have? Because I thought you can't trade back-to-back of yours.
You cannot back-to-back first-round picks in years.
Of yours.
Right.
But you can trade one that's a swap with another team.
So in 2026, they have their own, but then they have the one that they acquired from the James Harden trade. So they could trade one of those two.
And then they
don't have another one until 2028, which they can trade.
You're trading if you finish. Do you think in 2025 the Sixers are going to be a top? Do you think they're going to be a top?
Well, they don't have a 25.
Do you think they're going to be a top 6 team in the draft? I do not.
No.
Nah.
Okay. Well, then that means their pick's going to the Thunder. Oh, and by the way, their second-round pick is going to the Thunder.
Okay.
So 2025, your shelf is empty. 2026, if you didn't send that pick to the Thunder, then you've got a pick to trade there. You can't trade it in consecutive years. So at that point, you're now talking about the value of the picks that they have is still very much variable on what they still have to ship out.
Well, here's the deal. In 2028, which could be the end of the era, right? Yeah, that might suck that you don't have it, but if it brought you a championship, you're going to celebrate that. And another team, another GM might look at the Sixers' 2028 first-round pick or 29 or 2030 and go, you know what? That is a valuable pick.
That's where the window is going to be. The Sixers are going to be terrible.
Yeah, it's going to be shut. So that might be a pick that is valuable for a team. And here's the deal. I get what you're thinking about. Once the cupboard is bare, you're going to want to start replenishing talent. But, John, if the cupboard's bare after winning a championship, you're not going to care. You're not going to care about the cupboard.
And that is just where I'm not seeing your vision of a parade down Broad Street. I'm not
guaranteeing it.
I didn't say you were guaranteeing it. What I'm saying is, you're saying, well, if we win a championship, we're not going to care. I'm not seeing the vision that this man's vision of how to build a roster and how to put together a team is going to bring us a championship.
So you're almost saying right now that you don't see a championship being won with Joel Embiid and Daryl Morey in the next 5 years. Because he signed a 5-year extension, so he's here for 5 years.
Not if he believes the way to build a roster is the way that he's been building it before. I do not.
But I think it might be the only way you can build the roster with Joel Embiid because of his runway.
I would rather do like a Keith Pompey. I would rather see them go about surrounding Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey with talent.
He did say to still acquire a star. He did say to acquire a star, but they have to be willing to not be a shooter because you already have Embiid and Maxey.
And the same thing is this is the man who literally was, well, James is this and James is that. And I knew what James was before he arrived. Daryl Morey didn't. And I knew what James was when he exited town. Obviously, Daryl Morey didn't.
You only got to Game 6 because of James Harden.
And Daryl Morey is
stand by it.
It's constantly fooled. It's a flawed philosophy.
What percentage chance do the Sixers have to win a title in the next 2 years with Daryl Morey as the GM or president of basketball operations? In your mind,
with the plan that he's talking about?
Yeah, sure. Because it sounds like zero.
If you're telling me that it's going to be, I'm
just telling you what I just told you. You can make your determination.
No, because I can't. Because what I'm hearing him say, if it's what I'm hearing him say, I don't like the plan.
Okay, so what percentage chance? Is it zero?
No, it's not zero when you have Embiid and Maxey.
Then you have to do this.
Then you have to do this.
Okay.
It's really the only way.
It's not the only way.
But, John, you're talking about continuity with the Knicks and the Nuggets and all these teams. They have had the time to build the continuity. The Sixers don't have much time left.
Can I write in an envelope right now? You know this is going to end with Paul George, right?
It might.
Probably.
No, you know.
It might.
That's the kind of player we're going to get.
What he was talking about yesterday sounds like it might be Paul George.
That's what it sounds like.
And if he's not healthy, then holy crap, this sucks. If he's healthy, he's a perfect fit, and he might have to roll that dice.
If he's healthy. So then we're talking about two legs of a stool that he's going to build on.
That's why I told you I don't want Paul George here.
Well, no, and I know you don't.
But I understand why he might want Paul George because he fits from a basketball standpoint.
But for the last 5 years, it'll tell you don't want to be building where you're counting on Paul George.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
So then, but that's his plan. So when you're saying
it might be, we don't know. It sounds like it, but we don't know.
It sounds like it.
We'll see. Look, there's going to be other players available via the trade market this offseason.
And I'm tired of hearing the unicorn thing. Look, it would be great if LeBron came here. I think it's transformational to any franchise. LeBron James is not going to be a Sixer.
All right, we'll see.
I'm
going to go pick him up myself.
I'd love to see you do it.
Let's go to James in South Philly. What's up, James?
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing, man?
I'm also not a huge fan of Paul George. However, if we did take Paul George, is he going to stay in L.A. or if he doesn't come to Philly? And if so, if we take Paul George, does that weaken the Clippers for our? Because I believe we got their 26.
Yeah, I'll be honest, James. I'm not thinking that, and I don't think Daryl Morey's thinking that about the draft pick that they acquired. I think the thought process is, how can I build this team around Joel Embiid? And from a basketball standpoint, Paul George is an absolute perfect fit. From a risk standpoint, when it comes to health, it's scary.
It was a perfect. Wait. He's a perfect fit if you ignore 4 of the last 5 years that he's just not available to play
John,
half the time. You know what I mean?
John, that's why I say from a basketball standpoint. I'm not saying from a health standpoint. I'm saying from a basketball standpoint, he is a perfect fit.
Yeah, but the thing is, the health is part of it, right?
If I'm saying X's and O's. All right, X's and O's. And thanks for the call, James.
If he could play,
yes.
It is.
If he can play X's and O's, he is a perfect fit with this team.
But that's the premise that I just won't buy into.
Okay.
That all of a sudden he's going to be healthier as he gets older. They're blowing up, by the way, ESPN overnight. They're blowing up most likely they're going to blow up the Clippers.
Right.
They are going to take it apart. They're moving into a new stadium. They've already got their ticket sales locked down as they're moving into their new building. So they're going to most likely blow it up.
Okay.
Clippers are going to
they're not blowing it up because Kawhi's already got the max contract. So they just re-signed it.
But they're going to blow up. They're going to try to see if they can somehow move on from Harden. And they're looking to move on.
Harden's a free agent, so they don't have to somehow move on from. He's a free agent.
Just go boom and move on from Paul George.
Well, they offered Paul George contract. Paul George wants a max.
Right. He wants a max.
Yeah.
They don't.
So we're going to play the girlfriend game real quick because you're telling us a lot where you don't want to eat. The restaurant of Paul George, you got to give that max to somebody who can play. So where does that max go?
Yeah, if you don't give it, it goes away.
Yeah, it does go away.
So you have to give it to somebody,
really does.
And it might be Paul George, or it could be a player that you trade for that's already under a max contract.
That could be. I do not want Zach LaVine.
Right.
Okay.
Because of the same thing. I can't count on Zach LaVine to play.
That's
be
fine.
Healthy. I can't have 2 legs of the three. If a 3-legged stool.
But we got to have somebody.
No, but I can't have 2 legs.
We agree.
Be guys that are banged up and always injured. Already got one in Embiid, and it's never worked out. And now I can't have the one you're going to tell me is an option. So that's Daryl Morey's job, Connor, to find somebody.
John, if you're going to say no to everything, you got to have an alternative.
No, I'm going to say no to the options that are being presented. If you present me with an option,
You're the one shutting down the option we're presenting.
No, because you said
hold on. Kevin Service just sent in a great tweet. He said, "You talking about you want guys being healthy? Tobias Harris was available every night.
Fair point.
I don't want Tobias Harris.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want anything,
And by the way, Daryl Morey never moved off of Tobias Harris or never found a buyer.
Well,
he's been here for how long?
And look, that's not Daryl Morey's fault. It's not. It's Elton Brand for giving Tobias Harris a freaking max contract, and the rest of the NBA going, ha, we're not trading for that guy.
And that is absolutely part of the problem. But he also, too, Howie Roseman, as a general manager, different sport, but as a general manager, has found ways to
totally
unload
different
contracts.
rules, though. Totally different rules. Like, you get 3 max slots. Tobias Harris, whether it's 1 year left, 4 years left, 3 years left, is a max slot. It's totally different rules. If whatever team traded for Tobias Harris, one of their max slots is gone.
Would have screwed them.
So I can't go, oh, Howie would have done this. No, Howie. I don't think Howie would have traded. I don't think anybody would have traded with Howie Roseman for Tobias Harris.
So now it's done.
He's done.
Now it's done, and now you move on.
Let's go to Mike and Delran. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Mikey.
What's up, guys?
How are you,
buddy?
I met Paul George in Punta Cana in 2016. He could throw a hell of a pool party.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Well, he knows the area well because he's out of the playoffs pretty quickly every year.
Yeah, he's there a lot. Yeah. Listen, there's you can't have both here. So we tried to go the route of building a roster around Embiid and have continued it, whatever that word is, and we sucked at it. We drafted guys that couldn't make it. We just have Maxey. That's it. So if you're going to build around Embiid right now, the only option you have is to pay guys with big names to cover that max slot. If you decide you want to build up a team to have that, that what's the word again? Continuity?
Continuity.
Yeah. If you want that, unfortunately, you got to trade Embiid and do it with Max.
Would you want Mike? Would you be willing to give a long-term deal to Paul George?
If I could somehow swing Jimmy Butler to be here too, then yeah. Go Birds!
Thank you, buddy. You're not doing that.
Well, you can't because Jimmy Butler's also currently on a max contract.
And I think Jimmy Butler should be looking to pack.
Look, I'll say this. If you can get Jimmy Butler on a max contract and Paul George comes on a less than max contract.
That's a, wait a minute, completely different story.
But
then again,
you can't give both George and Butler's already on a max. So legally, you can't do it.
You'd have to hire 2 more team doctors. Full time.
Maybe. All right, look, we've been very Sixers focused, Phillies focused, but it's a Tuesday, and always on Tuesdays at 7:30 from the Inquirer, Inquirer.com. We're joined by the great Jeff McClain. Eagles rookie minicamp started last week, so the first look at some of the new draft picks by the Eagles. Who's hanging around? There were some vets that were hanging around, so we'll get to some stories from the Eagles at NovaCare from Jeff McClain. He'll join us next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. will be joined momentarily by Jeff McClain from the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, as Sixers rookie minicamp started last week. So first chance to see some of the rookies the Eagles got via the draft, and some other guys that are John Ross. Remember him?
John Ross.
The guy that ran like a 3.2 40-yard dash, something like that. It was not that. That would have been like the fastest man alive.
No, but he was still fast.
He was actually at rookie minicamp, so there's some intrigue there.
He's so fast because he has no hands.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll talk to Jeff about all that coming up in a minute. But I want to let you guys know. So I mentioned this yesterday. John, Connor, myself, and Brendan Gunn will be heading to the Phillies game tomorrow. It's an afternoon game against the Blue Jays. You can get tickets at Phillies.com. We will have 2 pairs to give away today, so you can come and hang out with us. We'll get together before the game. Probably we were talking about Pass and Stowe. Maybe that'll be the meetup point.
Sounds pretty good.
Great tickets, by the way. I think down the first baseline. So fantastic tickets. Thanks to John Brazier and our friends at the Phillies. So at some point this show, I'll tell you right now, from 8 to 8:21, we'll do our Know the Show, as well as 9 to 9:21. So 2 separate pairs of Phillies tickets that we will be giving away. I'll tell you more about it after we speak with Jeff. But a chance for you to hang out with us if you want to. You might just want to go to the game and not hang out with us. But a chance to hang out with me, John, Connor, and Brendan at the Phillies game tomorrow. I'll tell you more about how you can win coming up in a little bit. But let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. From the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, the great Jeff McClain joins us. Jeff, what's going on, man? How are we today?
Good morning.
So did you enjoy yourself watching guys in shorts and T-shirts at rookie minicamp last week?
Oh, wow. I mean, we had like 5 minutes, so it wasn't extensive, but yeah, got to go to a few guys, and they had tryouts, et cetera. I mean, I don't think anyone ended up being signed, but of the draft picks, most practiced, and yeah, I mean that's basically the extent of what it was.
You said a couple of tryouts. The one name of note is John Ross, the former first round wide receiver, who's electric fast, but not really the best wide receiver in the NFL. What did you see when he was out there for the few minutes that you were there?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly really wasn't focusing on him much. I mean, we had a couple of minutes. I was just focusing on the receivers were in front of us. I was just focusing more on the big guy. But they drafted Johnny Wilson. I think at this point, John Ross's career is probably maybe there's a favor that's being done, but he wasn't signed, so I don't expect that to happen. Maybe down the road at some point they desperately need somebody, but I think there's a reason why he was trying out for the Eagles.
Jeff, what are you deciphering is going to be the difference in this offseason and how the Eagles train, how the Eagles prepare, how Nick Sirianni decides to run training camp compared to the first couple that we've been able to see?
Yeah, he's already indicated that, well, we just know just by the schedule alone this spring that they're adding more practices than they had previously. I think last year they had the fewest amount in the NFL. And this was coming off, a Super Bowl season, so the season was longer than normal. Obviously, you have a lot of injuries when you play longer in the season. You have less time to recover, so I think that had something to do with it. But also just the philosophy that the training staff and that Howie Roseman kind of in leading that has fostered here for the Eagles, which is kind of like less is more sort of approach. And, obviously we've talked about this, I think, extensively, especially during training camp when the practices are just an hour sometimes, and they've had more days off during camp than ever. But I felt, maybe I heard a couple, some whispering from people in the building that, there was concern that maybe they'd gone too far to one extreme. And I know you could say, oh, well, they got all the way to the Super Bowl that way. They were one of the healthiest teams. And last year they were, again, pretty healthy in following the system. But there could be a happy medium. And I think that's what Nick is going to adopt here this offseason. And then heading into the camp, I think you'll see a little more strenuous practices. I think you'll see maybe a little more contact, a little more to get the guys ready so that maybe later in the season they aren't wearing down as much.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Chiefs, Andy's still taking his team. I don't know where they're going. It's not Lehigh in Kansas City, but they're still making the trips for training camp, right? They're still having hard practices, and they're a dynasty right now. So to say one way works and one way doesn't, I think is kind of crazy. Now I'll ask you, Jeff, do any of the players have input when it comes to the practices? Because I remember 2 accounts last year, one from Jalen Hurts, one from Sidney Brown, talking about if you keep on practicing the same thing, you can't expect different results. And it was almost like they were upset about it. Do you think any of the players had the input about the practices this upcoming camp?
Well, I think they had input when they started taking some of the practices away. And look, that's good coaching will take into account the players. And I recall back in 2017, the Eagles Super Bowl run, and Doug Peterson, one point was kind of easing off, which is typically what Andy Reid would do later in the season. Obviously he would start very hard, and then they kind of down the stretch he kind of reel it back a little bit. But at one point the players said, "Hey, no, we want to wear the pads." I think it was like a week that the Eagles had off because they had a bye because they didn't have to play the first round of the playoffs, and they asked to play. They wanted to practice in pads, and so a good coach will listen to the players, especially the leaders, if they come to him and say, "Hey, we want this or that." And I wasn't really sure. I don't recall the Sidney Brown or Hurts comments, what they meant specifically. I don't think it was much about like how hard the practices were not. It was just maybe just how they were practicing. And I guess that that will have to change too. But they have to implement new schemes here with Kellen Moore, new offensive coordinator, and Vic Fangio, new defensive coordinator. Now on the defensive side, it's not as drastic of a change because that's kind of what they've been doing a little bit. But still, there's going to be new terminologies, a new way of doing things. So I mean, they need more practices this spring just for that alone. And my guess is that in training camp, that'll be part of the reason as well. They practice more.
I know you've studied Vic Fangio and what he likes to do and what he has done in the past. How many of the building blocks, the foundational pieces that he wants or that he has desired in the past to run his scheme, do you think he has here?
Well, I guess let's start in the middle, right up front. You have Jordan Davis, right? He'll run multiple fronts and on rundowns. He's going to want a big nose in the middle there in that base run defense. So he has that piece, right? He's going to want edges. He's going to want one edge that's going to be able to drop. You have that, and I think with several pieces, Nolan Smith being one of them. So I mean the pieces are there schematically for Fangio to run his defense, and they obviously added a bunch of guys this year, and they drafted a bunch of guys. It's just kind of putting it all together. There wasn't, like I say, like this overwhelming need, I think, to totally revamp the defense. I mean, because if you look at the previous few drafts, I mean, they have been addressing that side of the ball. It's just time for these guys to step up, to use a well-used phrase. So that I think that's what we're going to see a little bit of as well with Vic and his scheme. It's just like not only is he going to be teaching these guys a new way of doing things to some extent, it's just also getting them playing at a level that they need to play so that they're contributing. They're being contributors. Nolan Smith, Jacoby Dean. You can just go down the line of all the recent drafts that they've had.
Speaking of Jeff McClain on the Comcast Business Hotline, Jeff, what have you had a chance, or what have you heard when you've had your chance to speak with people about Jalix Hunt? Because that's the biggest mystery player for many Eagles fans right now. A guy out of Houston Christian. Nobody. I will guarantee you, Jeff, that there was not a single Eagles fan in the entire Philadelphia area that watched a Houston Christian snap. So what have you heard about Jalix Hunt?
Yeah, again, I wouldn't say that was a surprise pick, and that's how we said after the pick. There really aren't many surprises, at least among the league. And I'm not saying that I was watching Jalix Hunt film before the draft. I do recall, Daniel Jeremiah talking about him, and in fact, he was talking about him on the broadcast as how he had mentioned, he's the best available on his board. So look, I mean, it was out there. I talked to a few teams to kind of gauge where they were going to, where possibly they had him graded as. I didn't hear many third rounds. Now, I didn't ask all of the 31 teams, so I don't know for certain. But it did seem a little early. We got to talk to him last week. I don't think we talked to him immediately after the draft, but we did talk to him. He came in, obviously, last week for rookie camp. Seems like a great kid, very personable. the stuff that you've read up on, the stuff that I've read up on him, and one of the areas of that the Eagles emphasize is of high character. But yeah, you're taking a little bit of a leap here, a little bit of a gamble, and taking a third rounder that you've labeled already a development type of player. And is he going to even get any snaps on the defensive side of the ball? You already have like maybe 4 or 5 edges ahead of him. So this could be a project, and sometimes that's hard to do when you're not exactly like always competing for a championship every year. I mean, the Eagles do have a good roster. Maybe they have at some points the ability to draft for the future, but in terms of his ability, I mean, this kid, even against the competition he was going up against, but he did at the Senior Bowl. He did play some Division I teams. I mean, he definitely has the moves and the ability and the physical attributes that you'd want for that position. It's just a question of how much are you basing that on the competition that he was facing, and even like watching some of the film after they drafted him. I mean, some of those tackles just don't look like they're even of college level quality. So. We'll see how it plays out, but definitely it could be a while before we even get an answer on whether this kid can play in the NFL or not.
Jeff, you're the man. We always appreciate it. I know we'll be bugging you again next week, but thanks as always, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
There he's Jeff McClain from the Philadelphia Inquirer, inquirer.com. All right, coming up next, I'll tell you how you can win a pair of Phillies tickets to come and hang out with us during the Phillies game tomorrow afternoon against the Blue Jays. I'm also going to tell you mind-blowing Phillies pitching numbers. All right?
Mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
Okay, you're not taking you're setting the bar really
mind-blowing.
high.
So this is my digital content piece for today. It's just not up yet because Dylan sleeps in. And it's my fault.
Well, he's allowed to sleep.
I know, and I did it at 5 in the morning.
Well, then there it is.
But I'm going to blow your minds.
Okay.
Comparing the 2024 Phillies rotation to the 4 aces of 2011. I'm telling you, dude, your mind will be blown. I think somebody who has a Phillies podcast might steal it and use it on his own show.
I guarantee it's going to be repurposed.
Sorry, is there an owl up here?
Well, your numbers were stolen.
Exactly. My numbers are being stolen by other stations. By other stations. It's unbelievable. I do the homework. People just copy off
Not even a little bit of credit.
That's how I got through high school.
Incredible. All right, so I'll tell you those mind-blowing numbers next, and also your chance to win a pair of Phillies tickets to hang out with us. We have 2 pairs today, but we'll do our first pair at 8 o'clock. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Kincade and Salciunas. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up at 8 o'clock, your next chance to win $1,000. And also at 8 o'clock, something that we've been doing, we do it every once in a while. We'll do Know the Show. We did Know the Schefter last week for the Game 6 Sixers-Knicks tickets. Sorry that you had to go and feel that pain on us. But tomorrow we have Phillies, Blue Jays, an afternoon game. Blue Jays are such a fun team to watch. I love watching that Blue Jays team. I'm excited that we got this game. But we have 2 pairs of Phillies tickets to give away for tomorrow's game, and you'll be hanging out with us. We'll meet up at Pass and Stowe. We'll get a beer together and have some fun before the Phillies take on the Blue Jays, and then, of course, the game itself will start. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 separate contests. So from 8 to 8:21, this is what we did the other day.
Number 1.
I'm not asking you to listen for 5 hours. I'm asking you to listen for 20 minutes. From 8 to 8:21. If you could tweet this out, Connor, I would appreciate that. 8 to 8:21 and also 9 to 9:21.
Gotcha.
8 to 8:21 will be Know the Show game number 1 for prize number 1.
Okay.
The first pair of Phillies tickets, because we're not giving away 2 pairs to one person, right? So we're not giving away a 4-pack. So from 8 to 8:21, listen closely, take your notes. It was awesome. The other day we saw people literally send in the notes that
and
they
were
took.
watching you,
by
the way.
I don't want to tip my hand. I know. I gotta learn that. But from 8 to 8:21, listen closely. And then at some point during the 8 o'clock hour, I will ask the question and have you call into the contest line. And if you get the answer correctly, you will be going to the Phillies game tomorrow with a guest and hang out with the show, me, John, Connor, and Brendan. We'll do the exact same thing from 9 to 9:21 for the second pair. And same thing. At some point during the 9 o'clock hour, we will ask the question. You call in, you get it right. You hang out with not only us, but also the other winner. So that's coming your way at 8 o'clock. A lot of fun right now with this Phillies baseball team. Another great win last night. We don't want to let that get lost. We've been focusing a lot on Daryl Morey's press conference because anytime the GM or the president of basketball operations or whatever team operations, you play it, you react to it, and there was a lot of stuff from it that we liked. Well, I like some things.
I liked a few, as I told you. I respect the fact of, I think he was trying to be honest.
Trying to be honest as much as he can be.
I think he was trying to be accountable. Let's put it that way.
Right.
He's trying to be accountable.
But there are stuff that we didn't like also.
Because he keeps repeating that the strategy he's going to use is the strategy that has failed him over and over again. But he's going to stick with it.
But it's the only strategy I think you can do right now, John. And we'll talk more about it because there's more clips that we will play for you coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. But I want to tell you these numbers, mind-blowing numbers, John.
All right.
And Mr. Locked On Phillies podcast. So
he's got his pen out, by the way.
Yeah, because he's going to steal it. Just give me credit. That's all. Other people should give you credit for your work.
Exactly, too.
So I looked up what Zach Wheeler has done through his 8 starts this season.
Okay.
The 7 starts that Aaron Nola has made, his 8th will be tonight. 7 starts Ranger Suarez has made, and I picked Spencer Turnbull.
Remember, we get Nola tomorrow. Sanchez goes.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, we get Nola tomorrow.
We get the Nola game tomorrow.
And then the 6 starts through Turnbull. I picked Turnbull because his numbers are more flashy than Christopher Sanchez.
Okay.
And then Walker wasn't healthy to start the season, so he's only made 2 starts. So what I did was, in order of rotation, Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Turnbull, I compared it to the order of the 2011 Phillies.
Okay.
Halladay, Lee, Oswalt, Hamels. I forgot Hamels was their 4th starter. I could have sworn he was the 3rd starter, but it was
I would
Roy
have thought
Oswalt.
he was 3rd.
And I did it through Halladay's first 8 starts because Wheeler has made 8 starts. Lee's 7 starts because Nola's made 7.
All right.
The 7 for Oswalt compared to the 7 for Suarez.
Okay.
And the 6 for Hamels compared to the 6 for Turnbull. All right? You got your pen and paper out?
What'd you find?
All right, so through the 8
I'm not taking
starts,
notes for Connor's podcast.
The 8 starts for Zach Wheeler this year. Another dominant performance last night.
Just unbelievable.
He's 4-3. He's pitched 49 in the 3rd innings, and he is a league best 1.64 ERA. League best. He also has the league best 63 strikeouts, walked just 13 batters, and the average against him. Guess what the batting average against Zach Wheeler is this season?
Give me it.
173.
Okay, that's absurd.
173,
and
dude.
Doesn't it seem like, to me, he's giving up a lot of hits?
No.
Like, to me, like every time I watch him, I feel like there's runners on base, especially early on.
Well, it could be walks.
Like, yeah, sometimes.
He
but
does have
it's just
13
there you go.
walks.
It's unbelievable.
But an average of 173. So I did the exact same numbers for Roy Halladay. 5-2 record, whatever. You don't pin wins and losses on a pitcher.
I do not.
61 and a third innings pitch. More innings pitched because he was a horse, right? Roy Halladay was going 8 or 9 innings every time out there. ERA of 2.05. So Zach Wheeler, the better ERA. 66 strikeouts, 3 more than Zach Wheeler, but again, 12 more innings pitched.
Okay.
9 walks, so 4 fewer than Wheeler. But his batting average against was 220, whereas Wheeler's is 173.
Okay, that's wild.
Or Doc Holliday. Right?
That's wild.
And let me make this clear, this post that's going to go out there, I'm not saying Zach Wheeler's better than Roy Halladay. But
I just heard you say it.
Through 8 starts, you can make the case that Zach Wheeler's 8 starts this year is better than the Roy Halladay 102-win season of the Phillies in 2011.
As the start, yes.
Cliff Lee versus Aaron Nola. Lee, 2-3 in his 7 starts, 46 and a third innings pitched, 3.69 ERA, 60 Ks to 7 walks, which is outrageous, and a batting average against of 255. Nola, 4-1, 43 and a third innings pitched, so 3 innings less, but an ERA of 3.32, which is 0.4 points lower than Cliff Lee's.
Okay, that's wild.
40 Ks to 15 walks, where Lee was 60 to 7, which is crazy. But a 217 batting average against 40 points lower than Cliff Lee's. Ranger Suarez.
Okay, get to this.
Now, this one's not even close.
Yeah, Roy Oswalt didn't have a good start.
6-0 through 7 starts for Ranger Suarez, a 1.72 ERA, which is amazing.
Unreal.
46 Ks, 6 walks, a 173 batting average against. Roy Halladay was 3-2, 39 innings pitched. Sorry, Roy Oswalt, thank you. 2.77 ERA, so a full point higher. 27 Ks, just 27 Ks, 10 walks, and a 245 batting average against. That's 0.7 points more than Ranger Suarez's. And now, finally, Cole Hamels versus Spencer Turnbull, okay?
Okay.
The World Series MVP of 2008 versus Spencer Turnbull, who the Phillies took a flyer on this year.
Who they're now putting in the bullpen.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Cole Hamels, 4-1 through 6 starts, 40.2 innings pitched, 2.66 ERA. Turnbull, 2-0, 32 and a third innings pitched, 1.67, a full point less.
Let's put that guy in the bullpen today.
The 2024 Phillies 4 aces through their first month and a half.
Okay, that's wild
More
numbers.
dominant than the 2011 4 aces that won 102 games.
Is that the Chunas calculator?
That is.
That's really good.
Mind-blowing numbers, I told you.
Those are mind-blowing numbers.
Just make sure you give me the credit there, Connor.
Or if any other show's going to use it, give you the credit.
All right, coming up next, we have today's headlines with Connor Thomas. More cuts from Daryl Morey, because Daryl Morey said something else that I disagreed with and you disagree with.
Oh.
But also, something really freaking cool on social media that I saw. And it makes me feel like there are still good people on this planet. And it's about a Phillies fan. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We got today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up at 8:05. Again, listen closely during this entire segment. Take your notes. Get your notepads out. We'll play Know the Show for your chance to win a pair of Phillies tickets for tomorrow's afternoon game against the Blue Jays, in which we as a show will be attending, and we'll hang out with you before the show, before the game starts. Probably a pass and so. We'll get in touch with you and how we'll get together. But yeah, a pair of tickets up for grabs. Know the Show at some point during this segment. Now, I want to tell you guys something that was like heartwarming yesterday. Believe it or not. Every once in a while, there are still heartwarming moments, especially on social media, which is usually just
a shocker.
Horrible place to be. But there is a Twitter account called Absolutely Hammered. Do you know who that is, Connor?
Absolutely. I've seen the tweet.
Absolutely Hammered is a big Phillies fan Twitter account. Does a lot of fun stuff, posts videos, all kinds of stuff, right? So Absolutely Hammered put out a post about their cat, Tony Meatballs.
Great name.
It's an awesome name.
The cat is named Tony Meatballs.
Tony Meatballs. Tony Meatballs, unfortunately, had sudden full kidney failure. So, this cat was probably going to die, right?
Okay.
And Absolutely Hammered puts out on social media, hey, listen, if I ever made you laugh, just help me out a little bit. Did the GoFundMe account, right?
For the cat.
For the cat. The total amount to do the surgery, the procedure, was $6,257. And look, pets.
$6,200?
Yep. Look, pets. I would do anything for my dog, even if it's going to drain my bank account.
Love Nikki Foles.
Right, exactly, right?
But $6,200.
Dude, you say
That's
that.
Hard.
You say that
it's
now,
hard, yeah.
right? So when Absolutely Hammer gets the unfortunate news that the cat needs
terrible.
the procedure, he goes, geez.
Right.
John, the goal was $6,000.
Right.
It's already raised $10,770 in a day.
That's wild.
He posted less than a day.
That's wild.
He posted this tweet yesterday at 9:55 in the morning. So we're not even 24 hours in, and the Phillies fan. This is why, this is a Philadelphia story. Phillies fans came together and supported one of their brethren.
Took care of the cat.
And raised over $10,000 for somebody they never met.
Get that cat into surgery.
Yes, and it's just a freaking beautiful story.
That is a nice story.
And that's Phillies.
That's a sweet story.
And
that's
Phillies
a kind
baseball
story.
got everybody together.
Yep.
So I'm happy that Absolutely Hammered got the money for Tony Meatballs, the cat, and it puts faith in society that there are still good people.
That is
there.
a sweet story.
And I wanted to bring that story up at some point. Yep. I know the cat was in surgery yesterday, so I hope to be able to give you an update on Tony Meatballs. All right, it's 8:05. Time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What else, Connor?
What's up, Tony Meatballs?
Guys?
Beat that. Yeah, beat that, man.
I'm debating whether or not to try and deke people on the Know the Show. Just emphasize stuff weird to see if people will write it down. But we'll see. Let's start out with something that this is on me. Sometimes over the weekend, there's a lot of stuff to get to, and there's things that you miss. Yesterday was a very special anniversary. It was the 30th anniversary of Jeffrey Lurie purchasing the Philadelphia Eagles and becoming the owner of that franchise. I got to ask you guys, in the last 30 years, is there a single individual that has done more for our Philadelphia sports lives than Jeffrey Lurie?
No. Not over 30 years, no.
I'm trying to think, I could say that players,
Could you?
Nick Foles.
Nick Foles had a good 6 weeks.
Right, no,
he had a good 5 weeks.
You're right.
He had a good 5 weeks.
Jeffrey Lurie is by far the best owner in Philadelphia. You tried arguing with me that yesterday.
Yeah, that was
Mr.
dumb.
He's
Mr.
outrageous.
Middleton. Look, John Middleton's a tremendous owner. We are very lucky.
We are.
I will say once more, the crap that Josh Harris gets, I think, is unwarranted.
So do
we
I.
have 4 great owners in Philadelphia sports, but Jeffrey Lurie by far is still the best one, and I don't think there's an argument against that.
He's the gold standard.
Yes,
not to make a pun.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But no, he is
the
you're
gold
right.
standard, though.
He's done the most. He built a new stadium. He put together a new team. The only Super Bowl that we have.
Eagles players talk around the league in those polls. They come up. The Eagles are always considered one of the better places to play.
Yep. Did you see the video when he called Trot Jr.?
He was all choked up about his mom and everything.
That
got me.
That was beautiful.
Me, yeah.
And I don't know how many owners are doing that, man.
I think in that relationship you might have some that
right. Like I don't think every owner's calling the draft pick.
Yeah,
right, but that was an absolute beautiful moment.
All right, we're moving on, and credit to Mr. Lurie. But big event tonight that we haven't really touched on. The NHL Draft Lottery is tonight. Ooh. And the Flyers, I went to our old friends. If you're a processor, like I know Andrew
I'm so glad I don't have to go to this website anymore.
Tankathon.com.
Yes.
What's up, baby? Well, I ran one simulation. The most likely situation is the Flyers end up with the 12th overall pick.
So they stay right where they should be.
Right. But the one simulation I ran had them jumping up the 2nd overall.
No.
That would be incredible.
What are they, a 2% chance to do that?
2.5% chance.
Hey, you're telling me there's 2.5% chance.
That's what we're telling you.
That'd be incredible. Look, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that anymore. Until the next time the Sixers have to do a process.
Now,
but it's great.
If the Flyers had lost one more game, they would have in the simulation. They would have had a chance to get the number one pick.
The number one pick. Yeah.
I think it's the top 11, right? Can get the number one pick or whatever. But still, I loved this season. I loved what they put together. I'm fine with it.
It's probably the biggest event that we're going to be paying attention to tonight, Connor.
I can't even think of a close second.
And I will be there for the first round of the draft, so I'm very interested to see how it comes out. I will be there at the Sphere.
That's awesome.
Looking forward to that.
That's
in
cool.
Vegas.
That's actually dope.
That'll be fun.
Can you do a lot of drugs and then look at the Sphere for me?
I will not do a lot of drugs, but I will look at the Sphere for you.
I got to imagine that's a trippy sight, man. You see the eyeball blinking?
Yeah, that freaked me out.
Can you imagine, like, what comes up in the Flyers pick? Is it like a giant Keith Jones head? Because Keith Jones has a giant head already.
It's a giant gritty head.
I mean, it's going to be gritty? That'll be awesome.
You know it's going to be gritty.
All right, Cheech and Chong, let's move on to our last one here. This is also something that came out yesterday late, but it plays back into our Sixers conversation. One of the names that's popped up around the Sixers was Jimmy Butler potentially returning, and it seems that things are getting rockier by the day down there in Miami. Here's what Pat Riley had to say about Jimmy Butler's comments that the series would have gone different if he was healthy.
You know, for him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
It is awesome.
And it needs to be said. It needs to be said.
Now.
Shut the trap. If you weren't able to play and you weren't playing, shut the trap.
Now,
Don't start trolling other teams.
I will say this. A lot of people are taking that as a sign that he's done now.
I think it is.
I think Pat Riley is one of the only guys in the NBA that can say something like that. I think Jimmy Butler might be one of the only players that is cool with hearing it.
I don't think Jimmy Butler is going, oh, my gosh, I'm offended.
No, I think
but
that's why I'm saying he probably couldn't have said that about other players. He
I think
may
their
have been able to
marriage
say
is
that.
over, though.
It might be.
I really do believe their marriage is over.
I mean, there's already enough reports, right? There's enough smoke that might be the case.
And I think it's because of the fact that Pat Riley controls the purse strings, not Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra, is the guy who coaches.
He's the coach.
But Pat Riley controls, and I'm sure it's a collaboration.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't think he's getting the contract that he wants, and he already knows it. And so,
he's still under contract. Is he still under contract? 2 more years, right?
And he's like, but Pat Riley made that clear also. So.
Yeah, but it was great. But then he was asked later, "Are you trading Jimmy Butler?" He said no, but
so he says no.
Yeah, you can say that now. Yeah, but that was a great line. I saw somebody tweet that out, and immediately I clicked on the replies to see what people were saying. Everyone was saying the same thing. No way, this is real. And then sure enough, the video comes out, and it was real.
I snuck into there was a company called Unisys. I was on a business trip. I ended up in a hotel in Phoenix.
Okay.
And Pat Riley was being brought in to speak at like an annual meeting.
Okay.
So I kept my suit on, went over, saw the table with all the nameplates, and snuck into the Unisys annual meeting pretending to be somebody. I looked down, found a name. There's hundreds of tags.
Right.
Got the tag, walked in. I did enjoy the open bar and sat and had dinner and listened to Pat Riley speak.
Good for you. You know what's a shame? The guy whose name you took, he ended up being arrested.
I think
because
they
he
let
tried
him in.
Sneaking in. They thought he was going to try to assassinate Pat Riley. And now he's behind bars.
Pat Riley,
and he shows no remorse because he got an open bar out of it.
He was one of the best speakers I've ever heard entertaining like that from the sports world, period. He was fantastic.
Do you remember the name of the person you ruined the life of?
No, but I know he was from Chicago.
Okay.
I know he's from Chicago. That's all I know.
You ruined that man's life.
I did.
That's all I'm going to say.
I bet he got in. Still got in.
I don't know.
But me all night long having to maneuver, well, where are you from? And like checking out other people's name tags to say, okay, I'm not from there. I'm from Chicago. I'm from, wait, where am I from? And I didn't wear the name tag around because I thought someone's going to spot me.
He's Mr. Wedding Crash. He's Vince Vaughn over here.
Unbelievable.
All right, so here's what we got going on today. We've been reacting a lot to the Sixers press conference yesterday with Daryl Morey, also reacting to the Phillies. If we have any Phillies texts, let me know. We'd love to hear from you on the phone line or the text line, 610-632-0975. It's hard not to lose the Phillies when we're reacting to a press conference about the future of the Sixers. But, my God, a 4-game sweep of the Giants, winners of 6 straight. I gave you those numbers about the rotation.
Those numbers are ridiculous.
It's the rotation so far, 8 starts of Wheeler, 7 for Nola, 7 for Suarez, 6 for Turnbull, is better than 8 for Holiday, 7 for Lee, 7 for Oswalt, and 6 for Hamels. It's unbelievable how dominant the Phillies rotation has been. And, yes, to your point, they reward Spencer Turnbull with the demotion.
And I do not want to hear anybody with the pump the brakes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Or, well, look who they're playing.
Right.
I've watched this team for years just play 600 ball against bad teams.
Yeah.
Play 550 ball against bad teams. I'm glad. I'm going to celebrate the fact that Rob Thompson and his team have done what I've been begging them to do for a few years, and they're doing it big time.
All right, we're gonna get a text on the Phillies, but I want to let you know after we get this text, Daryl Morey said something that completely went against what Joel Embiid wants. Well, let's get that Phillies text first. What's up, Connor?
Yeah, we got something from David in Indy.
Hello,
and
David.
He's talking about
What's
you
up,
guys' earlier conversation on Trey Turner at shortstop and Bryson Stott, of course, playing there yesterday. He says, you finally have Turner's head on straight, and now you advocate moving his position mid-season due to performance. Think about that.
I will say this.
You think he's that fragile?
If Trey Turner gets affected by moving from shortstop to second base, we have a bigger problem on our hands.
Absolutely. Because he's going to be moved. He is what does he have, 10 years left after this one? I think?
Yeah.
He's going to be moved to second base at some point. At some point it's coming. And when you were the worst shortstop in baseball last year, excuse me if I'm thinking we can improve the team just by doing something internally.
Yeah, if
I'm worried about his mental fragility about that.
Well, no, you have to be worried about it, but I'm saying if he himself lets that affect him, then we got a bigger problem.
How about this? We move him to second, and we organize as a show a standing ovation to make him feel good about it, to make him feel warm and well, I think it's been done.
Well, we could try it again. You never know. If it works once, it might work again. All right. So yesterday, well, first off, let me remind you, Joel Embiid, after the Sixers lost to the Knicks, talked about how he wants continuity.
Correct.
Right? He talked about the Nuggets have won a championship because they were together for 8 years. You saw that with the Warriors, right? So Joel Embiid said that after the Sixers lost to the Knicks. And then yesterday during the press conference, Daryl Morey said the opposite.
Again, just to talk about storylines, everyone's like, oh, it's the teams with depth that win. Well, of course, you go back a little bit and you have, recent teams that won without much depth, like the Lakers recently. You have teams without continuity that have won recently. So we're not going to have continuity. So hopefully we'll have continuity going forward a little better. We'll have continuity with our stars and our head coach. But we're going to have a lot of change this offseason. So long story short, there isn't like a formula. Everyone wants to find a pattern, and there isn't one. The pattern is have really good players and have them better than all the teams you're going to play. And we're not going in with a prescription of what to do. So
now, I agree with that. I just wanted to bring it up because his star player wants something, and Daryl Morey straight up says like 2 or 3 days later, yeah, we're not going to have that. We're gonna have roster turnover.
And of course, we all know they're gonna have the roster turnover this year.
Yes, we all know. Yeah.
But what he doesn't want, what I do not believe that I think from his words, I do not believe that there is a belief in Joel Embiid's head that they go star chasing. I don't think it's what Embiid wants. Now they're going to talk to him supposedly, right?
I'm sure.
They're going to talk to him about it. They said they're going to.
I would imagine he's a part of the conversation.
But to me, it's clear I don't think that he doesn't want star chasing.
Well, he wants continuity. Now,
I think he'd rather see a team constructed like the Knicks. Honestly, I really do.
Well, he said, don't forget, he said Denver, and Jamal Murray is a star, and Michael Porter Jr., I wouldn't call Michael Porter Jr. a star, but he is a good third option on the team.
No, right, exactly.
So
he's a really nice.
And by the way,
he's a really nice third option.
He also mentioned Golden State. And let's not ignore the fact that Golden State had two of the greatest three-point shooters of all time. And by the way, they added Kevin Durant.
Correct.
So let's,
Well, they won before Durant.
They did, and then it continued when they added Kevin Durant.
Durant was along for the ride.
Like the continuity thing, it helped that they had stars on those teams, right? The Sixers have not had the stars that remain, right? Ben Simmons didn't stay here. He didn't become a star. James Harden didn't stay here. So you have to hope that if they do acquire a star, like let's say, I know we are in agreement the concerns about Paul George. He is a star when he plays. If you sign him to a 5-year deal, that means you have 5 years of him. That is continuity. Like, it doesn't have to be a bunch of stars on 1-year deals.
Well, they got continuity in the trainer's room.
Well, yeah,
that's what you're going to have. You see, that's the continuity.
Absolutely.
The continuity we'll be talking about Paul George being out for 30 games. That's the continuity.
Well,
like I don't think that's not what Embiid wants. That's not what he wants.
He doesn't want.
We don't know that.
He does not want a guy. He does not want a guy. He wants continuity, meaning he wants to know that a guy's available there and that they're building it.
Maybe he wants a training room, buddy.
Maybe himself should look in the mirror.
Well,
like,
no, but
if we're being honest.
Well, I don't think when you're looking at his injuries, I don't think it's something where you're looking at him.
No, it's not nagging stuff, right? No, right. He gets hurt. And look, he plays through everything, but
he tries to.
We can't say that Joel Embiid doesn't want players that might be hurt when he also is hurt. Like.
I think when you're wanting continuity, I don't think you're saying, do you want a guy who's going to miss 35 games a year?
Right. No, but I think think Joel Embiid means is he wants somebody that's going to be here for more than a year. Like, he loves Tyrese Maxey because Tyrese Maxey is a joy to be around, and Tyrese Maxey is going to be here moving forward. He's about to sign a 5-year deal, right? Like, Tyrese Maxey.
He's going to be here.
Joel Embiid will end up playing with Tyrese Maxey for what? Maxey's been here for now 3 years, 4 years? Is this his 4th season already?
I believe so.
So add 5 more, it's going to be 9 years. 9 years. That will be the most.
That's amazing.
That will be the most.
This was his third.
Oh, this is the third?
Yeah.
All right. So that will be the most amount of time, if Embiid plays all 5 years of Maxey's max contract, that will be the most amount of time he has played with the player in a Sixers uniform. Think about that for a second.
That's crazy.
And I know the NBA always has a lot of turnover, but the one guy that rivals that is Tobias Harris, and he's now gone. So it's going to be 5.5 years of Tobias Harris.
Where is he? Did you not?
I caught it. We'll talk about it.
You caught it. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
We'll talk about it. Let's go to Philip in the Northeast. Philip, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What are you up to, buddy?
Phil?
Yeah, originally I did not think that the whole Paul George thing was real, but, listening to more yesterday, that's going to be a real thing.
It sounds like he is talking specifically about Paul George, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then you guys mentioned the fact that it's like a user to loser type thing with the max slot.
Yes.
So I'm also thinking now with how chummy Morey was to Tobias this whole year. I think that was a relationship type play to try to get Tobias to agree to some kind of signing trade, right, during the offseason. And I'm thinking that we can add Marcus Smart from the Grizzlies in a signing trade.
You think they want to end up with Tobias Harris though?
Well, they got Bane, they got Morant, and they got Jaren Jackson Jr. So Tobias on a $20 million a year deal.
He makes sense there. He makes sense in Detroit. Also, young teams that probably need a veteran presence. Like, let's be honest, John Morant probably could use a veteran presence on that team.
He needs a babysitter.
Veteran presence, and that would be Tobias Harris. And look,
Exactly.
Marcus Smart is Sidney Crosby. He's the guy I hate, but damn it, I love him. I love him on my team.
Philip, I like how you think. I just don't
Thanks for the call, Philip.
I don't think the Grizz is interested in $20 million Tobias.
Well, it's only 20. It's not.
No, but I don't think. No, but if you said 20,
no, but that's
what I'm using. I don't think they're interested in $20 million. I'd love to see it. Oh, I'd love that because I think attitude is important.
I love Marcus Smart. He is. Sidney,
you want attitude.
Yeah, he's Sidney Crosby.
Right.
He's the guy that I hate, who I always love on my team. All right, coming up next, I asked you guys a question yesterday. I asked you what you wanted to hear in the press conference with Daryl Morey. Well, now we heard it. So did you get your answers? Did you get what you wanted to hear? We'll revisit what we wanted to hear yesterday. And I have some clips because one of the things that you wanted was taking, credit, but also being able to say that was my bad. Accountability. Yes. And he talked about that a little bit yesterday. He talked about it a lot yesterday. And we'll revisit the building through the season conversation. because I told you yesterday that's what I didn't want to hear. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I hope you're enjoying your Tuesday morning. I'm going to tell you right now. Normally, I don't do this. It will be this segment when I ask the Know the Show question. Normally, I say...
You're letting it out of the bag.
Yeah, normally I say, I'll ask it randomly. It will be this segment. So from now until 8:42, when we break, at some point, I will ask the Know the Show question from what was said during the first segment of this hour, and we will do the exact same thing for pair number 2 coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. And if you're just tuning in, it's a pair of Phillies tickets for tomorrow's afternoon game against the Blue Jays, and we will be going as a show. Yep.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast.
Should be a great time.
If you ask nicely, Johnny will even buy you a fastball freeze.
How much is that running you these days?
About $75 U.S. American.
A fastball freeze?
He said the whole show, or he's going to buy everyone.
Exactly. I didn't hear that.
It's those tequila fishbowl things.
Oh,
I think.
whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I've done the fish bowls in my life, and I've sort of stayed away from them since.
I'll take 2, please.
I did 2 in my life, and that's enough.
I was 18 when I was served one.
One of those fish bowls.
Not carded. I was at a bar in I think it was Boston for one of these Lithuanian events.
And I had one.
And I was with all my sister's friends because they were all older. So they just assumed I was a part of the crew. And I was 18. I asked them, I was like, what's like the strongest thing I can get? They're not carding me. They're like, get a fish bowl.
Oh, no.
It was a messy night.
She loved you then, yes.
It was a messy night. All right, so real quick, we got some more Daryl Morey stuff that I want to get to. And again, at some point this segment, we'll do the Know the Show question. But 2 things. First, we lost a listener.
We did.
And it's sad news.
Yeah, it is. How about an 86-year-old listener to the station? Marianne Nasuti.
Yeah.
Marianne Nasuti passed away of cancer just the other day. And our friend Tom from Alabama.
Yes.
His best friend's mom.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
she's a big listener. She was a big listener here, big supporter of the station. And she was telling people all the time to listen to The Fanatic.
That's awesome.
And so in loving memory of Marianne Nasuti and to her family, we send our condolences from Kincade and Salciunas.
Yep. And speaking of Kincade and Salciunas, you and I are both wearing Temple gear today.
We are.
And I know you won't bring it up, so I will bring it up myself. All right, because I'm a foxhole man. Tonight, Johnny the K is getting inducted into the Temple Hall of Fame, man. And we are going to the ceremony. Connor's going to be there.
Maybe, if I can make time.
If you can make time.
They have fish bowls.
Well, and the NHL draft lotteries tonight.
Exactly, yes.
It's a pretty big night. But we're happy for you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I know you got a speech tonight that you have to make.
And
I told you I will be standing up the entire time for it.
And I told you, whatever time limit they've set for me, I have drilled it to be under. Because there's nothing I don't like worse. There's nothing.
Is there a sports book that I can buy?
Yes, you can bet the under.
This
no,
is
bet the
insider
under.
trading,
bet
man.
the under. I do not like long-winded speeches.
Right.
So I have done everything I can to make sure that it is streamlined, succinct, and that I've thanked everybody I have to thank.
And we thank you.
And I appreciate
thank you
guys
for inviting us, man. We appreciate it. It's a night out for me. It's more. I'm not going for you. I'm going to get away from my wife and kid for a night.
By the way, Liv will be there, so don't let her talk you in any fish bowls.
Absolutely, but congratulations, man.
Thank you, buddy.
I'm proud
I appreciate you.
It's really cool.
Thanks, man.
All right, so yesterday during the show, I asked you both, and I gave you mine as well, what we wanted to hear from Daryl Morey yesterday. I told you, number one for me, even though I knew this was going to be said, was that they're still building around Joel Embiid, and he did say that. The other thing I wanted to hear was I wanted them to go after top talent, which I know is something that you don't want. I
don't necessarily want that. I just
not
don't
top
want
talent. Right, exactly. And I think you have a short runway, so I want to go about going after that short runway as much as possible. I don't care about draft picks down the road. I don't care about 2030. I care about 2024, 25, 26, 27, because that might be all you have left with Joel Embiid. And I think I got that yesterday. I think that's what I heard.
Okay.
You said you wanted to hear accountability.
And I believe that I heard a lot of it.
And one of those things was him talking about acquiring Buddy Hield at the trade deadline yesterday. And obviously didn't really work out for the Sixers, except for Game 6, where Nick Nurse inexcusably did not play him in the third quarter after he was just lightning in the second quarter. But here is Daryl Morey talking about Buddy Hield.
Yeah, I think at no fault to Buddies. I think the fit was less good than I had thought. You know, obviously most of his time was without Joel, but I thought when Joel was back that his impact and his shooting, that he'd get more open shots. He didn't. And so, that's on me that it didn't work out as well as we hoped. I still think it was one of the better acquisitions. I was really happy he showed what he could do in Game 6, and based on how they're guarding us, what he can do. But, for sure, I mean, there was no one more disappointed than him that he, fell out of the rotation because, I think Nick correctly saw, based on how they're guarding us, that it was hard for him to impact the game. And then when they changed up how they're guarding us, he did show what he can do.
Now, here's the problem. And it's a great answer, right? That was an accountable answer.
I think that was an accountable answer. Yes, it was.
Here's the problem. When did you acquire Buddy Hield?
Trade deadline.
Here is Daryl Morey talking about how he likes building through the season and how it's not just a finished product, which I understand. I understand your roster on day one is never the same come day 82.
Yeah.
But the thought process of always building through the season, I'll let Daryl Morey talk about it.
We have a lot of tools this offseason, more than most teams in our situation, with more draft picks, more cap space, 2 great players. But we'll have to see how the offseason goes and then how we play. As you know, I tend to not be someone who says, let's make sure the roster is perfect on day one. I like building the roster over time, even throughout the season.
All right, so here's the deal. I get that thought last season, going into this season that we just finished.
Okay.
Because you saw James Harden on the roster. And you knew that when you traded James Harden, you were probably going to acquire more movable assets, which they did with Marcus Morris, right? Which they did with the draft picks that they're probably going to move on from. So I understand that thought process going into this past season when you had a star player, no matter what you think about James Harden, he's still a star player in the eyes of the NBA, a star player that you are going to have to move, and then once you make that move, you're probably going to be able to flip those pieces for something else. I understand that mindset going into the 2023-24 season. I do not understand that mindset going into the 2024-25 season when you have to rebuild an entire roster going into next year.
So you understand my frustration with when you tell me your plan, and your plan involves steps that you have failed at over and over again. I'm going to tell you, any other CEO or otherwise would say, hey, change the damn plan, man. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Your idea doesn't work. Pivot. Try something else.
Well, the beauty of off seasons is there's always new players available, right? So he will be able to build a roster. My beef with that is he's going to build a roster knowing he might still change the roster.
Yeah, but that's...
And if we're talking about content, and I'm tired of hearing the freaking excuse of, well, they only had 12 games to play with one another. Morey says it.
No,
the coaches say it. And if you say that, then come up with a roster for game one that will be mainly intact come 82.
He has shown you that he is incapable, since he's been here, of using that approach to create a roster that can win in the postseason. He's been literally left at the altar over and over again. Don't do it again and tell me I'm supposed to trust it.
Now,
or
I will
believe
say, in his defense, he's been hampered by Tobias Harris. He's been hampered by the players that were carried over from the previous regime. But there's no excuse going into this year.
No, there's none.
All those players are gone. It's Tyrese Maxey. It's Joel Embiid. That's all.
Paul Reed.
And that's all you have.
Oh,
all right? That's all you have. So you can't tell me, oh, well, we were still stuck with Tobias. We were still stuck with this player, still stuck with that player. No, all those players are gone. You're not trying to roll out Furkan Korkmaz as a point guard anymore, right? Like the guys that you moved on from, they are gone. They're done. All these contracts are up except for your 2-star players. So I'm sorry. I don't want to hear Daryl Morey say, hey, don't judge me on the roster come game one. Judge me on the roster come game 82. Look, if you acquire a player that fits a specific need, look, it happens all the time in baseball. We were already talking about the center field position. Well, come trade deadline, if they need a new center fielder, they'll go get one, right? That happens in sports all the time.
They would do
Same with football, same with hockey. But don't tell me that come game one, you might have a roster, and then come game 41, when you're at the midway point of the season, when you're doing the trade deadline, you're going to completely have a different looked roster.
Because I like doing it that way.
I don't.
You failed at doing it that way. Stop doing it that way.
Yep. All right.
Oh
Connor, did you hear what you wanted to hear yesterday during the press conference?
Nah, but I kind of wanted a deep cut about the second apron and the change in the CBA and how guys could be available through trade. We'll see it later in the season, but it's hard to predict.
By the way, Connor, Scotty points out to me, he goes, you both are being unfair to each other on the trade discussion. Scotty says, point blank, he goes, you're not telling Connor what you want. He says, but Connor is presenting you with options and you're shooting them down. He said, so Connor needs to present you with options that you won't shoot down. He
Why
said,
is the onus on me to present you with options? Tell Scotty
the
you
options,
can kick rocks.
Because the options you're giving me,
Scotty.
yes, the options you're giving. Now, he tells me that he thinks I'm also being slightly unreasonable.
I think you are.
So, I mean, he goes, but if you're going to tell me,
surprise.
But if you're going to tell me, then you've got to present me with something. If I'm shooting something down, present me with something that, okay, if all these mythical trades are out there, that potentially, well, there's trades. They could make trades. Present me a trade, and I won't shoot it down if it's something that's good.
Sometimes the trades are unexpected. Like, nobody expected Josh Richardson for Seth Curry.
Absolutely did not.
Which was a dynamite trade.
It was a dynamite
Daryl
trade.
Morey. All right, coming
Never
up
saw
next,
that coming.
The golden rule, don't do the show before the show. All John did was mark the cuts that he wanted. Didn't explain why. He just marked the cuts that he wanted. Coming up next, I will play a cut, and I feel like I know why you wanted a specific cut, and shockingly, I believe we will disagree on it. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I will indeed ask the question next for Know the Show. I forgot. Thanks a lot, producer. You should have got my ear.
I was busy getting raved out by not being fair.
I will ask the Know the Show question to start the segment, I promise. It's Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic. Kincade Salciunas coming up this segment. A clip that John highlighted that he wanted to play. Didn't give me the reasoning why, but I just know we're going to disagree with it because that's just kind of how you and I see life.
Sometimes we do.
We disagree on things. All right, so my bad. I promised that I was going to ask it last segment, and I forgot to do it, and that is all on me. All right, the first Know the Show question. And a reminder, we're doing 2 pairs of Phillies tickets. So the first pair is about to be given out right now, and then we're doing the exact same thing in the 9 o'clock hour from 9 to 9:21. Listen closely for Know the Show for the second pair of Phillies tickets for tomorrow's game against the Blue Jays, 105 at Citizens Bank Park. Go to Phillies.com for tickets, and you'll be hanging out with us as well.
Looking forward to it.
The question from the 8 to 8:21 segment today. John Kincade saw Pat Riley at a speaking engagement, but you stole the nameplate of a person who you don't remember the name of, but you remember where they were from.
Yes, what Unisys office they were working out of.
Where were they from? The first person to get the answer correct on the contest line, 215-263-0975. Again, 215-263-0975, and the winner will get a pair of tickets for tomorrow's Phillies-Blue Jays game, 105 first pitch at Citizens Bank Park, and you'll be hanging out with us. All right, Connor, it is Daryl Morey cut 6. So here's the sheet for our YouTube audience. These are the black highlighted clips that John wanted. There was no reasoning behind it.
I did not talk about it. I did not.
He literally just jotted down the ones that he wanted and handed them to me. And then I was the one that built him into the show sheet, right?
I was trying not to do the show before the show.
And some of these I could tell right away, all right, I'll agree with you here, I'll agree with you, because I know how your brain works. But I also know that you probably don't like this one. Here's Daryl Morey talking about age.
I think as long as players are playing at a high level, we're focused on Joel and Tyrese, and we're focused on now. You have to factor in age because I have to look at more than just one season. But the reality is, like, similar to we put most of our focus on the team when Joel is available. We put most of our focus on the now versus the future with where Joel is in his prime.
I agree with you, Daryl, but John Kincade doesn't, I'm going to guess.
Oh, no, I think he absolutely is talking about, if he's talking about the now, let's just say we're talking about Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot look at 4 out of 5 years being crappy, 1 year being good and being like, well, we got to look at the now and use that as your boiler point to say, everything's fine. We'll go forward with that.
Well, I don't
Age
think
matters. Is he watching the NBA playoffs?
I don't think he's looking at just the number of games played by Paul George. I think he's looking at age itself. Like, Paul George is, what, 34 years old?
Yes. And if you're going to – what are you going to sign up for?
He's not looking for a 23-year-old.
No.
That might not contribute. He's looking for a proven veteran that can contribute.
And again, if he can go maneuver things and get a trade or otherwise. But if you're talking about every single older guy is not a wrong answer. Every single old guy is not wrong. If you tell me James Harden, that's wrong.
Okay.
Because we already know who he is. And if you didn't, I tried to tell you. If you don't know what Paul,
it's very close to working out, Johnny.
If you don't know what Paul George is right now, as far as where his body is and the inconsistent nature, Google can be your friend. Go read the people who cover the Clippers and where he's at and what he's talking about as far as a player. And inconsistent comes up in every single column, every single article, everything. He's wildly inconsistent. And then you talk about the fact that for the last 5 years, he's been a medical wrecking ball. You have to worry about age, Darryl. You got to worry about age. This team can't get older. If you're not watching the NBA playoffs.
Now,
where are the teams that are still alive?
I'm going to say one thing about the Harden thing, because I think it's unfair that you say this. You agree that it was the best deal they could have made.
At that point, yes, and I would have taken Halliburton any day of the week. But I don't know that deal was real.
I don't know if that deal was ever on the table.
So I think it's unfair to say that.
Tyrese Halliburton literally said it on a podcast that he thought he was going to get traded to Philadelphia. Then his agent called and said it was never happening.
And so, exactly. So I have no idea whether that was real or not.
So, like, I could have told you that it wasn't going to work, but it was the only deal that they could have done.
No, it was the best deal that was out there. There's no question. And you got him for a guy that wasn't going to play for you.
So what if Paul George is the best deal that's out there?
Right.
There has to be better than Paul George.
Well, you don't know that.
Well,
what if there isn't? Again, what if there isn't?
If he's not, then I already know the ending. Again, if it's the best deal that is out there on the market, first of all, we'll never know that that's true. But if it is the best deal, sort of like the Harden thing, I didn't rip the Harden acquisition.
Right, but then
I just said, I know how the story ends.
Yeah.
As everybody was popping corks and everything, I said, I know who James Harden is when the games are tight. I know what he's going to do in the clutch, but we'll wait and see what happens.
And that's not our argument with Paul George. Our argument is we can't blame Morey yet because if that ends up being the only option for like a player of that magnitude, you got to do it.
And if it is the only play, I don't believe that to be the case. I don't believe that a general manager with all of this flexibility, that would be his only decision. We have all this flexibility. We got all these picks. We got all this money. But the only thing we can do is Paul George. When he's been tied to Paul George in the press for 3 months.
I'm not saying the only thing, but the only thing with a max contract slot may be
it might
Paul
be.
George.
No, it very well might be.
And you have to fill that max slot. Now, I'll ask you, do you think Boston's a young team?
Young team? No. Do I consider Boston to be an old team? No.
Because you say you don't want to get older. Look, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still young, and they still have a long time in their career.
They're still in their prime.
But Al Horford and Drew Holiday are both on that team.
And they are role players on that team.
All right, let's go to Will in Feasterville. Will, do you have the answer? Who or where was the person from who John tried to ruin the life of?
Yeah, the answer is John. Next time, be better and steal name tag for one of those snakes up in Boston.
Wait, you cut out. Where were they from?
They're from Chicago.
All right, good job. Yes, steal one from Boston next time.
Yeah, but then I would have thought that I wouldn't have the accent.
All right, so Will, congratulations.
Good job,
You'll be going to the Phillies game. You and a guest tomorrow, and you will meet up with us.
We'll be hanging out.
We'll get in touch with you, Will. We'll probably go to Pass and Stowe before the game, have a few pops, and then we'll go to the game itself. So congratulations to Will, and we'll do this again in the 9 o'clock hour. So listen closely, 9 to 9:21. Same thing, know the show. And I promise at 9:30 on the dot, I will ask the question for Know the Show for the second pair of tickets that we will be giving away thanks to our friends at the Phillies. Shout out to you, John Brazier. You an incredible, incredible human being.
By the way, they're packing the place too, so this is really kind of them.
Yep, absolutely. So congratulations to Will, and we can't wait to find out who our next winner will be. Coming up next, we continue the Sixers conversation. Joel Embiid is playing for Team USA, Johnny. What does Daryl Morey think about that? We will play those clips for you next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Tuesday morning. Kincade and Salciunas, another hour to play for us. It's been a spirited day reacting to what Daryl Morey had to say yesterday. John and I not seeing eye to eye, shockingly. There are some things we do see eye to eye on.
I got to tell you, I don't think we've – the weird thing is I thought we would I think there's actually more we've agreed on than disagreed on.
Well, the biggest thing that's talked about is what we're disagreeing on.
The biggest thing on
and
we
it's
do
how
disagree
he's
on.
going to approach this offseason.
Correct.
And I look at it strictly in such a short lens because you have to try to win with Joel Embiid and not worry about draft picks down the road and players down the road.
But you're looking at it, we just have a fundamental difference there. But other than that, I think we pretty much have the same agreement.
We still. But again, it's the age we don't agree with, draft picks we don't agree with.
If it ends up being Paul George, I know the outcome. I know the outcome.
You don't know the outcome.
Okay.
Paul George played 74 games this year.
We will watch it play out if it becomes.
But here's the deal. If they get Paul George, look, I've been on the record. I do not want that to be the route.
Neither one of us do.
But I'm not going to say the day they sign him, it's over.
Yeah, John Stradamus, give me the lottery number.
No, not that it's not over. It's just the idea of, are you talking about winning a championship? I don't believe that is the move to make if you're winning a championship. And I do believe, by the way, I get flooded with, there are a lot of people who can come up with proposals for trades that are now on my timeline. That's what you want. There are people that are proposing that there are trades out there.
Yeah.
So it's not the only move.
What do we got? What do you like?
I don't know what I like. I have to. I got to go. I got to go sift through them. But I got to tell you this: there's some smart Sixers fans that I think believe that you can do sort of what was Keith Pompey was talking about yesterday. Is that you don't have to go with. You can surround him with talent. Sean is a good one on my timeline.
And again, don't forget, Keith said third star, just not somebody that shoots. He mentioned OG Anunoby specifically, a guy like OG.
And by the way, I think of him more like a fourth option.
Who, OG?
Is that wrong?
Offensively, yes.
Yeah.
He might be a third on the Knicks.
But they need a third. I believe the third option will have to be more offensive than that.
It's got to be a wing player who can score, which is exactly
it is.
Let's play that clip, Connor. It was cut 9 from Daryl Morey, and then we'll play these cuts about Joel Embiid playing in the Olympics. But he was asked specifically, all right, so what position are you looking for? And you'll hear it in the clip. He said, well, I don't need a point guard or a center, right? Because he has Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. So, he needs a wing player, and he talked about it.
I would say the biggest need is, not at their position, someone at the wing who can play and deliver at a high level in the playoffs. That's the biggest need, yeah.
He needs a wing player that can play at a high level in the playoffs, which is something they have not had for 5.5 years with Tobias Harris.
That answer is almost seems duh, duh, but
it hasn't happened.
Logical. It hasn't
happened. Look, we act like Kelly Oubre is Larry Bird because he's the best wing player that we have had since Andre Iguodala. That's a long time now. Obviously, the process is a long time of that, but it's been that long since you've had a legitimate wing player, unless you want to consider Jimmy Butler a wing player, but he had the ball in his hands a lot when Ben Simmons was still on this team. So I don't know if I can categorize Jimmy Butler as a wing player. You have not had a wing player that can go out there and put up points on a given night. We're acting like Kelly Oubre is Larry Bird. He's not. He's probably a good player to have off the bench. That's what I always wanted, but you were just so a breath of talent that you couldn't do it. But maybe Oubre comes back and he's your sixth man, and you get one of these max players, whether it's a Paul George or somebody that can come off, that can be a starter and score points and play wing offensively and defensively. We talk about this term 3-and-D so many times. How about I just get an overall good player?
That would be fine with me.
Like Robert Covington, 3-and-D. Matisse Thybulle, 3-and-D. They didn't do both of those very well, but they also couldn't do anything else.
Right. Well, to Keith Pompey's point, if you bring just a third star here to Philly, they're going to forget how to shoot. So they're going to fit perfectly.
Well, the one thing too, though, is that there is, it's not. This is no. In no way am I saying it's easy. What they're going to try to do, it's that I absolutely think there's enough data to say I don't want this one. The same one we don't want, Paul George.
Okay.
There's enough data there to say I do not want that to be the option that I'm presented with.
And I will make this once again clear. I want Paul George, the player, the guy that fits perfectly with the Sixers, It's the injury history that signs me off.
And it's not just when it's 4 out of 5 seasons, you can, and he's not getting younger.
Right.
You cannot, because nobody ages that way except, what's his name? Benjamin, what was it?
Benjamin Button. Or Al Horford.
Or Al
Horford. All right, we would love to hear from you on the text line, 610-632-0975. You can call in as well, 610-632-0975. Reactions to Daryl Morey's press conference. How do you want the Sixers to build it? Daryl Morey's pretty much telling you he's going to try to acquire a star player and then continue to build around that roster. I think that's the best way to go about it. John wants I don't know, like how would you categorize your approach? A long-term view?
I don't think. I think very much a view that is not laser. When moves are being telegraphed, that means every door is not being explored. When you have 2 of the top 3 NBA insiders sort of telegraphing Paul George to the Sixers, that tells me there is tunnel vision going on.
There's also Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant and LeBron.
But they're not being talked about like the way the Paul George thing is that they're being talked about first of all, you can't even talk about is Pat Riley
those
going?
Are 2 trades and an opt-out.
I will say this though: if you're Phoenix, trading for first-round picks might actually be great for them.
Yes,
because here's the deal.
Okay,
Bradley Beal, myself, and for everybody that wanted Bradley Beal, we may have gotten away with one. Because Bradley Beal is still a mess.
He's a mess.
That means all they have left, if they trade Kevin Durant, all they have left is Devin Booker with no cap space, no nothing. They've traded all their picks away. Remember, how many picks did they give up for Bradley Beal?
3?
A billion?
4?
A billion?
Maybe 4?
So they need to start. This is why, like you say, the Sixers aren't in a great position, or you question whether or not they're in a great position. There are teams with just as much talent in a far worse position.
I would rather be the Phoenix. I'd rather be the Sixers than Phoenix.
So trading Kevin Durant to Philadelphia for them makes sense because there are first-round picks that they desperately need to acquire because A, they don't have any, and B, their team's about to blow up. Like they are probably on the brink of blowing up unless Devin Booker can. I don't know. This is his 3rd time where he's the guy on a team, and it still hasn't worked out except for one Western Conference Finals appearance.
And when Durant, like if you were talking about Durant, and I'm stealing this from inside the NBA, but the idea is, are they going to play with multiple basketballs here in Philly if they ever did something like that?
I will say this.
Because it depletes what every time the ball isn't in Joel Embiid's hands.
I will say this, John. I can't believe it didn't work out because when they were together, Irving, Harden, and Durant were lethal. The only problem was Durant would get hurt, Harden got hurt.
Right.
Kyrie Irving went on 6-week-long birthday trips.
The problem is KD wears a half size too big of a shoe. If he's behind the line on a three-pointer, they beat the Bucks. Yeah. They move on.
No,
they win that series.
17. I think those 3 only played together for 17 games.
Yes, and they were very good.
And they looked beautiful.
They were very good.
Beautiful.
So
together.
I don't worry. Look, Durant played with Steph and Clay. Like I don't worry about Kevin Durant coming here and demanding the ball too much or other guys losing the ball because
I'm more talking about the idea. It just means you're getting less of what Embiid can be. You're getting less of what Maxey can be.
Well, we've also
it probably stunts Maxey the worst.
We have also talked about maybe not wanting Embiid to have to put the team on his back every single time. That helps Embiid out. I understand the Maxey question.
But here's a guy that Durant who never wants to accept the put a team on my back.
Well,
ever.
He'll still give you 27 a night, though.
No, I get you. But he never wants that role of being the alpha.
Okay, so it's still going to be Embiid's team.
Look,
with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
That's pretty freaking good. And, oh, by the way, he's part owner of the Union? Come on home, Kevin.
Wow.
All right.
Good work by you.
Before we get to the text.
There's where the stretch began.
Before we get to the text, Daryl Morey was asked about Joel Embiid playing for Team USA yesterday. Let's take a listen.
First off, it's not even in our hands. Second off, we would always support Joel and something that important to him. And I think it's really cool that he thinks that's one of the dreams he's had since he became a citizen.
So
He tried to get on 2 other countries' Olympic teams.
Okay, forget that.
So no. Well, when you're talking about it, it was so important to him because until he became a citizen.
All right, fine.
He was trying to get 2 other countries to take
Forget the
him.
United States of America.
So stop that talking point now.
Right. But your problem is not that he's playing for the USA.
Right.
No, my
Your
problem
is the Olympics. So whether it was the USA, France,
Right.
Lithuania,
Canada, he tried,
I would have taken him.
He tried Canada. He tried France.
I would have taken on Team Lithuania. Come on, Joe. Get some citizenship there. You would have had a problem with him playing in the Olympics, no matter what country it was.
Because a guy who needs nights off because he's going to get too tired or too worn down playing an NBA regular season where he's being paid, what, $45 million a year?
Mm-hmm. Look,
I don't need him playing in his summer too, which is just, and I guarantee we're going to hear next year, well, he played all off season too, so you got to understand he's a little more tired than he would normally be. I don't want to hear any of that crap.
So I agree with you, but I do like what Bob's been saying. He's getting hurt whether he's playing in the summer or not. He's not wrong when he says that. So then Maury talked about the health of Joel Embiid, and this kind of goes into him playing for the Olympic team.
I mean, every year we sit down. When I say we, it's myself, the head coach, our medical staff, and work with Joel on, hey, let's put a plan together. And luckily, we don't need to do much because Joel cares about this, as you might expect, it's his life more than anybody. And we have not done that yet, but for sure we're going to sit down and have a plan with Joel and figure out what's best. He's already sent me a few thoughts on things, but it's premature. Like, we haven't had the official sort of sit down and let's put that plan together. But I know Joel is trying to think through everything, like how can he make sure he's at his maximal abilities, once the playoff rolls around.
I'll just say this. I don't think there is an answer. I don't think the brightest doctor in the world can come up with an answer.
There's no question about that.
And that's not me ripping Joel Embiid. It's just
no, it's not. There is
no. It's just the way it is. We've seen him get hurt in the beginning of the season. We've seen him get hurt at the end of the season. This year we saw him get hurt in the middle of the season and actually come back healthy, but then got tweaked again, it looked like, come playoff time. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen.
Bob's point is valid, but he literally limped through the playoffs. And after coming back from an injury where they said, look at him, he looks great, then he got injured again. He limped through when the team that pays him, the team that gives him the lifestyle that he enjoys. The Olympics ain't that.
Right. Let's look at it this way, because we're looking at it from a basketball perspective as Sixers fans.
I'm looking at it from a selfish standpoint, by the way.
Right. Let's look at it from a bit more of a human perspective. Has Joel Embiid earned this?
What, the Olympics?
He's played through everything.
Absolutely.
He's left a lot on the floor for the Sixers. He has fought through every injury he's needed to. He hasn't given us results, but it's not because he hasn't tried.
Anybody who paints him as soft just tells me you aren't watching.
Right. And if that guy, the face of your franchise, who's gone through Ben Simmons falling apart, James Harden wanting out, Tobias Harris not scoring a point, and Markelle Fultz forgetting how to shoot, and fought through all of this and stayed here and has not left, goes to you and says, one of the most important things to me and to my son, and showing him I want to play for the country that he's going to be a citizen of, is I want to play in the Olympics. How do you tell him no?
Okay, first of all, leave the country crap out of it, because we already know that is a BS. That's a BS storyline. That's a BS storyline.
What I'm saying.
Him wrapping himself in the flag is the biggest bunch of BS.
Don't get lost in that.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying to you. So stop saying it, because that's BS. We already know it's BS. To me, I understand the desire, what you want. I also know that maybe a summer of proper rehab, rest,
but he does
and
that
everything
every year.
But he's not going to do.
He does do that every year, and it hasn't worked. To Bob's point, I'm not disagreeing with you. I do not want him to play in the Olympics because, God forbid, we get the Woj bomb, Joel Embiid torn Achilles.
Right, exactly.
And I will lose my freaking mind.
You're going to lose your mind.
But to what Bob's been saying, no matter what he's done, it hasn't worked. So
we've never gotten that Woj bomb in the middle of a summer.
I got you.
We've never gotten that.
But hearing that clip from Daryl Morey saying we're going to come up with a plan, I don't think there can be a plan. I think there's
no plan. I mean, and I don't blame and I don't blame Morey for it. And by the way, I think Daryl Morey is also that's the proper tact to take as far as Joel. We'll leave this up to you.
Yeah,
you make the best decision, but I hope that the best decision for the franchise that pays you, that has provided you with the lifestyle that you are living, is the one that also gets just as much as to something you want.
Haven't you gotten your money's worth on Joel Embiid?
No.
Yes.
Yes, you absolutely have. It's insane to say you haven't.
No, I absolutely admire the fact that I think he's a guy that if anybody calls him not tough, I would defend that. I do, but no, what I've expected to see and how it's gone, no, I have not.
You can't buy championships.
You can't buy championships.
I'm not talking about him.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about him being at peak efficiency come playoff time.
And he was pretty freaking good. He gave you 50 points in the game this series.
He did it.
And it was great in Game 6.
It was a great Game 6 was awesome.
Yes.
Absolutely awesome. Game 3 was freaking awesome.
Yes.
Game 3 and Game 6 were freaking awesome.
So were Games 1 and 2.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he scored 35.
And he had one rebound from 3 quarters.
Okay.
So, I mean,
I don't think that had anything to do with peak performance.
I think it does have a do whether you won and lost the game. I think it does. Look, I would hope that he would make the decision.
I don't think Joel Embiid is the reason why you lost Games 1 and 2.
No, I think it's the fact that Daryl Morey considered that it wasn't important to have a viable backup option.
I agree with you there.
And I cried it. I said it over and over again before it didn't happen. And I wonder why now it's just the light bulb moment.
Now, speaking of.
Yes.
I didn't even put this on the sheet. Speaking of the lifestyle people are provided because of the NBA. You guys see our old buddy Ben Simmons yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it?
He looked like a villain from Batman.
Oh, yeah, I did see your tweet.
Yeah, that was really...
So the Met Gala was last night where people just... I don't understand the Met Gala.
I'm wearing that exact fit to John's thing tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, to the John ceremony.
So he's rocking a weird jacket with a flower on it, but then also some weird like patterns that like you would see a 60-year-old man wear at like a function.
Yeah, what is it?
And then a bow tie, but then he had a briefcase with a giant clock on it. Not the Flavor Flav clock.
He's so freaking weird. He's just so freaking weird.
No.
And more importantly...
You know what he is? He's freaking fake. That's what he is.
Well, what do you mean? Why does it make it fake?
It's just, I got a lot of money. I'm going to show it off.
Oh, no, that's part of it. And it's money he's not earning.
Fake. He's
and it's money.
pretending.
Yeah, the clock on his briefcase doesn't even work.
And it's money he is not earning. He's stealing.
What do you mean it didn't work?
He is stolen.
It was 4:30 on the briefcase.
No
way. I don't know what time
I checked the sun. It was at least 6
I don't know
p.m.
what time that photo was
No, it was
taken.
definitely at least 6 p.m.
It's just crazy. This guy, I mean, and then he tries to push there's other stuff going on, which is why he's not playing. Baloney, dude.
Well, remember when he did I'm having mental illness issues.
Yeah.
But I won't present any kind of the proof
It was
to do that.
Which he doesn't have to in his right, but then again, I didn't buy it.
Yes.
It was just very interesting that all of a sudden there's a clause and they used that clause.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, our old buddy Ben Simmons. All right, Connor, do we have any texts coming in about our Sixers today?
We have an interesting trade proposal.
All right.
Okay.
This may be something that John saw on the people tweeting, but this is from Howie in Miami. So if I know anything, if I get a text from someone named Howie with a trade proposal, I'm reading
And look,
Okay.
he's Miami Dolphins, the Jai trade.
Howie is a Florida Gator.
He
So maybe he has a house there.
Yes, he traded up Kiko Alonso.
All right, what do we got?
13 to 8 to 2.
All right,
this might be Howie Roseman.
Yeah, you're looking for Pepe Silvio. Calm down in there. The trade, if no LeBron, I'm calling Portland, and I'm trading a first-round pick and some pick swaps for Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, and Delano Banton. Now,
Wait a minute. Grant and Brogdon around with Maxey and Embiid?
Well, Brogdon could be your point guard.
No.
Maxey plays off
No,
ball.
I'm intrigued. The light bulb is I'm intrigued.
I will say this.
That team doesn't lose to the Knicks.
I don't know that's true.
I will say this.
That team does not lose to the Knicks.
I think we highly overrate Jeremy Grant in this city. I think we highly overrate him.
Okay, explain a little bit more why.
Because he was one of the better players from the process that moved on and actually had a decent career where he averaged 22 a game in 1 year, 19 a game in 1 year, 20 a game in 21. But he did this with two bad Pistons teams.
Where he was just getting tons of shots.
Yeah, like.
Okay, but if you're talking about Embiid, Maxey, Brogdon, Grant, that team doesn't lose to the Knicks.
Well, I will say this.
Is and do we have a viable? Can I get a viable backup center too?
Well, I'm going to say this. Grant is 30 going on 31. Brogdon 31 going on 32. You're talking about how you don't want to get older.
Well, I'm talking about 34.
Okay.
No, 30 is still prime NBA.
So what is it? What is Sixers trading away? A pick?
Picks and swaps. Now, you have to move a player, right? You have to give them a player or players back. So you'd have to sign and trade someone, or I don't know, Paul Reed, or who knows.
Or Tobias, because that's still a possibility to sign and trade.
And the thing is, I could see a Portland doing it.
But is that's the type of return? Does that fit what you're looking for, John?
It certainly intrigues me. That team doesn't lose to the Knicks.
All right, that team doesn't lose to the Knicks. Are they winning the NBA Finals?
Are they winning the NBA Finals? No. But we're not winning with Paul George either. So
you're not winning with Paul George. I would say you have a better chance.
I don't.
And that's all you can
though. I honestly don't.
That's all you can ask for is chances. All right, we'll continue this conversation.
That's
Coming
interesting.
Up next, right at 9:30, because I ran long last time. Right at 9:30, I will ask the Know the Show question from this segment. And again, a winner will win a pair of tickets to tomorrow's afternoon Phillies game, and you will hang out with us and our man Will from Feasterville, who won in the 8 o'clock hour. So the Know the Show question to start, and we continue this Sixers conversation and a whole lot more. It is Kincade and Salciunas. And, oh, by the way, we'll preview this Phillies-Blue Jays series next because it's a 2-game series against one of the more fun young teams in Major League Baseball. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Salciunas on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Want to let you know, if you head to 975thefanatic.com, you can enter for a chance to win $2,000 for Mom in the Mother's Day nationwide contest. Mother's Day is this Sunday. So hurry up. I mean, you just got to register.
Got everything handled or what?
Kind of.
I hate that answer.
By the way, the Mother's Day nationwide contest sponsored by Pilates Florists. Make Mom's Mother's Day special with beautiful flowers from Pilates Florists. Now with 3 locations to serve you. Visit PilatesFlorist.com. I thought I narrowed down the brunch spot. Christy wants me to find the brunch spot, but she needs to okay it first. And I found a spot that she loves, but it's a buffet style. And for some reason, she went, eh. And I was like, well, they're doing like special omelet stations and all.
And carving stations.
It's like a cool buffet style.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. She gave me a...
Well, wait a minute. It's Tuesday morning.
I know. I don't have much time left.
Got to, poop or get off the throne. I mean,
trust me, I know. I already got the gift. I got everything taken care of except brunch.
Oh, I haven't done anything
And
yet.
the Mother's Day brunch is a big deal.
I know. I got to get working.
Yeah, come on, man.
You haven't done either, Connor?
Well, the tough thing, my mom's birthday was like a week ago.
Right.
So we planned that. And she's always just give me stuff for my birthday. Don't worry about Mother's Day, which can be a trap.
Yeah, don't
that
fall.
Is a trap.
Don't fall into
Connor,
the trap.
when you're married, don't ever fall for that one.
Don't fall into the trap.
Not for a long time. I'll have to worry about that other one, Johnny.
You never know. You might meet somebody tonight.
You can meet someone tonight
at John's Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, I'm gonna meet
while we're paying attention to the NFL draft lottery.
My buddy Jack Daniels.
Absolutely,
there
man.
You go.
All right.
By the way, if the lottery pick comes in during the middle of my little speech,
John, they got the second overall pick.
All right, that's great. I'm all in on that. You are free to interrupt.
All right. The Know the Show question for our second pair of the tickets for tomorrow's afternoon game, Business Person Special, Phillies Blue Jays. You'll be hanging out with Will from Feasterville, our first winner.
Will sounded fun, too.
I'd rather hang out with Will than us, if
That's
I'm
great.
being completely
That's cool.
honest.
Will from Feasterville.
There has never been a day in my life where I thought I was cool. Will's probably cooler than I am.
He's going to be fun.
You can get tickets at Phillies.com. The second question. We had a texter at the end of this past segment, so very close. A texter that had a trade scenario between the Sixers and the Trailblazers, where the Sixers would get Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon. Sixers would send some picks. What was the texter's name and where was he from? We made a pretty big deal out of it, so you can't say that's a hard question, and we talked about it for a few minutes. Call in 215-263-0975. Who was the texter's name and where were they from? The first person to get it right will win the second pair of tickets for tomorrow's afternoon Phillies game, 215-263-0975.
How about Markkinen?
Lauri Markkinen?
Yeah.
That's a guy that's been on the radar, I think, of Sixers fans for a while. I'm interested.
Don't hold your breath.
I don't believe
I said, what are you trading to get him?
It's not the player. Who's the GM?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's
Danny Ainge.
That's a good point.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You're not getting him.
That's a great point. But, yeah, Lauri Markkinen's another great fit for the Sixers.
A lot of people want him, but, I mean, well, first of all, I said to a gentleman here on Twitter, I'm like, well, what are you trading for him? How do you think you're getting him?
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's
like, how do you think you'd have...
But that is a style of player that Morey's going to have to go after this offseason.
But if Danny Ainge put him on the market, Lauri Markkinen's on the market, and he lets it be known, he's not just going to call the Sixers. He's going to let everybody know he's on the market. What are you going to put? How are the Sixers going to put together a better package?
Danny Ainge wanted Paul Reed this past offseason, so there you go. There's one piece.
Let's do it straight up. Paul Reed for Lauri Markkinen. I think that's a great deal. Okay, so Phillies Blue Jays. We got that series starting today. So let's just I want Mr. Locked On Podcast to give us a quick little preview. So you've been saying in the update, who's pitching for the Jays tonight? We got Sanchez tonight for the Phillies. Noah tomorrow.
Jose
Barrios.
Barrios. Yeah, tonight.
He was a guy I was interested in free agency a couple of years ago.
This is actually a huge start for the Phillies today, because this is the first start for Christopher Sanchez since you've made the decision that Turnbull is going to be a pet guy. And this is going to be this is going to go a long way to the perception of, was that a smart decision or is this move invalidated? So we need to see Sanchez throw well today, or people are going to be calling for Turnbull.
Yeah. I will be. I'm already calling for Turnbull.
Yeah, so Christopher Sanchez, you're right. He has to start well tonight, because I don't think there is a single person that is okay with the decision.
No,
I really don't.
I bet you there are people in the organization who are not happy with the decision. So they're not thrilled.
I mean, because Spencer Turnbull has deserved to continue to be in the rotation.
He earned it. He's earned it.
And now for him to all of a sudden go to the bullpen, I mean, that's – and look, Rob Thompson's reasoning was the innings limit. And I understand the reasoning, but
there's no
I don't know, you're not rewarding a guy who's pitching out of his mind. Like it's I don't know. That's just something that I don't get. I mean, I gave you the numbers. I compared the Phillies' 4 aces from 2011 to the Phillies' Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, and Turnbull. And Turnbull's pitching better than Hamels was. Halliday's pitching better, or Wheeler's pitching better than Halliday was. Nola better than Lee. I mean,
well, let's look at it this way. Where do you need more help right now, the bullpen or the rotation? You have Seranthony Dominguez, who you can't throw in a game that's within 2 runs.
Yeah, but Connor,
he's going to be a long reliever. He's not going to be a.
I got you, but
if it ain't broke,
he's going to be the guy that pitches in the 5-1, 6-1 game. Either they're winning 6-1 or they're losing 6-1.
Well, we don't know that. He fits better as a long reliever.
I thought that's the role they've talked about.
That's
as
the
a
plan,
long reliever.
But that's the plan. But if you're in a spot where you have 2 righties available, as Seranthony and it's Spencer Turnbull, and you're in a 1-run game, I'm throwing Turnbull. Like, the rotation has strength outside of Spencer Turnbull.
Wait. Do I know? So what's the situation here? You said one-run game, Dominguez or Turnbull?
Yeah, 8th inning, you're up 1.
Has Spencer Turnbull ever done that in his life?
He's never done that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't.
Like, why? You can't do that.
Can't do that.
Spencer
Turnbull's a star.
Look, you're
Kyle,
talking about
as the incredible collegiate pitcher that you were. Some are saying you were the next Nolan Ryan.
That's true.
You know that guys pitch in certain roles better than others. There are guys that can't handle the 9th, but they're great in the 8th. Ryan Madsen, a perfect example. Hector Neris was a great example of that.
And you sold me on you can't move. Stott and Turner can't change positions in the middle of a season. What would that do to mess them up? That would be routine compared to asking a guy, now we're going to ask you to go in and get a strategic couple outs.
Well, no, it's not, because pitching is pitch. Like, I know it's a different situation, but it's not a different position. But here's my point. You guys are right. Christopher Sanchez should be the guy in the bullpen based on merit. I agree with you. But I don't think it's a completely illogical decision by the Phillies. Like, what in the world are they doing? Like, there are some reasons that you could look at why they would have done this, and they could be proven right.
They could be proven right.
How are they going to get proven right?
Or they could be proven
by Sanchez dealing today.
Okay, but what is that?
To deal.
But that doesn't answer the question of what would Turnbull have
Connor,
done.
Here's what's bothering me the most out of it. You're hoping that Sanchez deals. Turnbull has dealt all season.
I got you.
You are basically rewarding him with a demotion. Hey, great job. Have fun in the bullpen.
I got you. Listen, this is the reason they're doing it. It's the same reason they ran the offseason the way they did. It's the philosophy this team has. Last year's team was good enough to win the World Series. They didn't, but they were good enough to. And they believe that sticking with that is going to get them to where they need to be.
Well, that also could be a poor decision,
too.
It could be. Sometimes you can
I'm saying they're wrong. I'm telling you, this is how they think, and they showed you it with the offseason, so that's why they're sticking with the guy that was in the rotation last year.
Yeah, but here's the deal.
And Sanchez has had nothing to do with their success the last 2 Octobers.
I got you.
And I was cool. I was cool with the run it back. Look, if they moved on from Castellanos, they moved on from Castellanos. Nobody was buying them. Nobody's picking up his contract, right? There was nowhere to really make a change. There was one competition. It was center field, right?
That was the only competition. You could have gone and got Snell instead of Nola. You ran it back. Still won a Cy Young award.
Yes, you ran it back. But back end of the rotation, like, I'm sorry, I'm not losing sleep if Christopher Sanchez goes to the bullpen.
I'm not either. You guys are right. I'm trying to explain that this is the thought process of this team.
But
they're sticking with what they know.
Yeah, I'm criticizing their decision.
Their thought process is being based on some stupid science that they think exists.
Well,
that's what this is about. Well, his arm could explode. There is no science to taking Turnbull out of the rotation. None.
I didn't say that.
But you know that's what they're doing.
I don't.
That's what Rob Thompson told us.
That's what Rob Thompson said.
Yes, but
So we do know. We do know, Connor. He said it.
You just don't believe the manager ever, but now you believe him because he's on your side.
That's the only public answer.
I do believe when it comes to that is he's going, look, we're going to protect the player. We're worried about the innings. There is no science for this terrible approach that they did.
All right, real quick. I don't want to make Brian wait much longer. It looks like we may have a winner. Let's go to Brian in Mount Holly. Brian, Where was the texter from? What was their name? And if you get it correctly, we'll be seeing you tomorrow at Citizens Bank Park.
Howie from Miami.
That is correct. Great job, Brian.
Look
We'll put you
tomorrow,
on hold.
buddy.
Our man B Gun will take care of you, and we'll figure out a way to get all together at some point.
Sure.
I'm going early.
No, we're going early.
I got a babysitter and everything.
Wait a minute. As soon as we get out, we get our staff meeting. Then as soon as we get out of that staff meeting, we're on our way.
Well, good thing we might see the boss tonight and say, "Hey, let's do our meeting now." While you're making your speech,
fair point.
You can have a meeting.
I won't pay attention.
You can have a meeting.
I'll fill you in tomorrow.
No, the boss's meetings are longer than my speech is going to be tonight. I promise you that. I promise you that one.
Well, we'll get to the ballpark eventually, maybe by the fourth inning. I also want to let you know about the Fanatic Deal of the Week. I love this. The Pau Hana Tiki Boat Tours, man.
Sounds a lot of fun.
The Pau Gasol Hana Tiki Boat Tours. Set sail with the Fanatic Deal of the Week this week only. Get the first 6 spots for your private tiki cruise from Pau Hana Tiki Boat Tours for half off. Float on the Ocean City Bay on a private 26-foot cruise equipped with thatched roofs, club-quality speakers, and barstool seating. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. With Connor Thomas, go shirt on or shirt off. And if he's wearing a shirt, how many buttons are unbuttoned?
It's a small boat. I mean, it's a nice-sized boat, but it's a small boat. No, we don't need somebody with their shirt off.
Do you think the size of the
tiki
boat
tour
matters? I'm not wearing a shirt. I'm not going buttons.
He'd be the only one on the not wearing a shirt, too.
That's fine.
And he'd be fine with it.
Never stopped me before.
Make everybody uncomfortable.
You're amazing, Connor. You're absolutely amazing. All right. We have our Key 3, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 coming up, which is the 3 best minutes from today's show. And then it'll be followed by the crossover with one Bob Cooney. I've gone out there the last couple breaks. I didn't see Bobby. I'm very upset. I want to go shake his hand. I always love shaking Bob Cooney's hand. So you'll hear from Bob during the crossover. And, of course, before that, the Key 3, Kincade Salciunas Key 3. We'll be right back right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Kincade and Salciunas. We got our crossover with one Bob Cooney coming up in a few minutes. I finally got to shake Bob's hand. It's our daily tradition. Back when he was in the AM and now when he's doing middays. Some things stay the same, Johnny. But it's time now for the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Johnny, good morning.
And a good morning to you.
What?
I'm just going to...
What?
I'm going to give myself the relax today, don't overreact to everything I heard yesterday.
Well, you didn't like everything that Daryl Morey had to say? I mean, it's only day 2 of the offseason. I mean, the second round of the playoffs are still going on, man.
There is so much that I didn't like. I couldn't wait for the show to start today.
I see you shaking your head. I don't know why there's a single thing you would shake your head at.
They're very well situated.
They are.
Really?
They are very well situated. For this offseason, they are very well situated, John. They have draft picks that they can trade. They have cap space where they can acquire players. Now that Tobias Harris is no longer a member of the Sixers franchise, they have 2 max slots available, one of which will go to Tyrese Maxey. They are probably in the best situation among all teams in the NBA for their current situation. I'm not saying they're built right now to win a championship. And you have all those draft picks, all that free agent money, all, with the new CBA, all the stuff that they can do. They are in a good situation.
They are very well situated, he said. Well, he talks about, first of all, it's my job to championship. By the way, same crap I've heard multiple off seasons. It's the same exact message. Nothing changes.
I mean, I can't not show love to the freaking red-hot Phillies, who have won now 6 straight games and completed a 4-game sweep of the San Francisco Giants. Zach Wheeler yesterday, freaking tremendous as usual. The bats continue to be hot in Philadelphia. I think hitting season is officially here. Is it really? Is that true?
Have you checked with Charlie? Because if Charlie says it, if it's not hitting season, man, they're fooling me. It's not okay when you look at their draft pick situation for the future and say, if he starts dealing what little draft capital they have, if he starts dealing that, then you're screwed if this doesn't work out.
A 2026 draft pick for the Sixers means nothing to them
27,
right now.
28, and you're screwed into the late 20s.
Yeah, but John, if you trade those away and you win a championship, you're not going to care about the draft pick you could have had in 2028 at pick 30.
And this is where we do not agree philosophically.
Okay.
I don't think they're winning a championship with this guy's plan.
Yeah, but you have to try to do whatever you can to win a championship. Right. From the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, the great Jeff McClain joins us.
I felt, and maybe I heard a couple, some whispering from people in the building that, there was concern that maybe they had gone too far to one extreme. And I know you could say, oh, well, they got all the way to the Super Bowl that way. They were one of the healthiest teams. And last year, they were, again, pretty healthy in following the system. But there could be a happy medium. And I think that's what Nick is going to adopt here this offseason. And then heading into the camp, I think you'll see a little more strenuous practices. I think you'll see maybe a little more contact.
Boy, Stoddy was that shortstop yesterday.
Loved it because he's the best shortstop on the roster. He's the best guy to play shortstop on the roster. And Bryson Stott, this is a perfect opportunity to talk about it, making the switch with Stott and Turner. Turner's going to be here long term. Turner's awesome. And with his bat playing like he is this year, it's amazing. But this is the perfect opportunity to see he's a better shortstop than Trey Turner. And more importantly, I don't want him messing around with the few draft picks you got. I don't want him we got draft picks to use. I don't want that either. Because you know what's going to happen? He's going to push all the poker chips to the middle of the table, trying to win a championship this year.
Not this year.
And then we're screwed.
Not this year. You're not signing a bunch of guys on one-year deals. You're going to sign a guy to a max contract. I know you and
Which I love it. Yeah.
You and I agree. We don't want a Paul George, but it's going to be a player that's going to be on a contract for 5 years. There are multiple options for Daryl Morey to sign guys to more than one-year deals. So I don't think it's pushing the chips in for the 2024-25 season.
If he goes old,
John, I will say he's pushing the chips in for whatever window he believes or runway he still has with Joel Embiid. All right, that's the Key 3. Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from today's show. Before we get to Bobby, an update, John. An update.
I
want to thank our friend Nick Pacone for putting out the video of us talking about Tony Meatballs, the cat.
We have an update on Tony?
Tony Meatballs, absolutely hammered, put out the update. Tony Meatballs out of surgery, will be home tomorrow afternoon. And Tony Meatballs is currently eating normally and everything.
Oh, wow.
And absolutely hammered. Thanked everybody who donated and shared the original post. That's the beauty of community.
It's one of the few
Philadelphia sports can bring people together.
One of the few good things about social media.
No, absolutely.
That every once in a while.
Did you hear the Tony Meatball story?
What the hell's Tony Meatballs?
The cat.
It's a cat.
I
didn't hear that.
There's a Twitter account that's a big Phillies fan account.
Okay.
Absolutely hammered. Funny stuff. A lot of Phillies love. His cat went into kidney failure.
Oh.
And you know these pets. We love these freaking pets.
I thought you were talking about an animated figure. That's why I was kidding around.
But,
all right, good luck, Tony Meatballs.
But these bills, you know the bills.
Yeah,
they're
not
expensive.
good. Yes.
And so he just, out of a whim, put out the GoFundMe. Needed $6,000, got 10.
Oh, wow.
In less than 24 hours.
Oh, my God.
Put out the post at 9:55 yesterday, so we're not even at 24 hours yet.
Wow.
And he got $10,000 toward Tony Meatballs, and Tony Meatballs is doing well, Bobby.
All right, recovering nicely. That's what I like to hear. Go, Tony.
How are you recovering after your hard show yesterday where you basically had an hour off?
Oh, this coming from the guy. Okay, let's play some more tape. Connor, you got anything in there
No,
you want to run with?
Fresh out.
You did
all
a great
good.
job setting up the press conference, Bob.
Yeah, I heard some of your trade proposals and stuff today. We got
Which
to be
you
smart
love.
with it. Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, where are you coming up with $50 million to match it?
Well,
Yeah.
it's not
You
sign
know,
and
like,
trade.
there's those little things like you have to think of.
You
That's
don't-
why I'm not huge on the.
You don't think
let's
Portland's
do
going to
this.
give Tobias a max
Oh,
contract?
yeah, sure. I would do that in a
yeah.
heartbeat. Now you have that whole $7 million of Paul Reed to deal with, so
Why
it's
is
going to
he-
be tricky.
why
You
is he
don't
coming
have
back?
to, though. You know, that's a weird thing.
Is
Yeah,
he
you
coming
don't.
back? Do you think it sounded like he said he's coming back?
It's one of my topics today. Like
What'd you
he
do?
threw out 4 players. You know, like Paul Reed's probably an okay backup 4 with energy, I guess, a little bit. He's not a backup center. He is what he is. I don't think he's going to get any better. So, are you okay with what he is?
Here's what
I'm a 9-10 guy on a team, I would think.
Here's what I most wanted to hear from Bob. Has anything of your opinion changed to what you heard from Daryl Morey when you first heard it to when you had a chance to sleep on it?
No.
Okay.
You know, like it was funny. I went to pick up my son after school yesterday, and a guy came up to me who played at St. Joe's, and he comes up. He goes, "What'd you think? What did Daryl Morey say today? I didn't get to hear it." And I said, in a synopsis, he said that he wants to get better players so that his team is better than the other teams they're playing.
That's why Bob's
That
Bob.
was pretty much it. Yeah. So how he goes about, I heard what you were saying, John. I don't mind the plan. I mind the execution of the plan. Like, he hasn't gotten the right players.
Right.
So the plan is fine. If you want to look to improve the team all throughout the season, sure. Why not? But make sure you're doing just that.
Does
the
it
execution has
scream
to be
Paul
there.
George to you?
No.
No?
I didn't
Okay.
get that.
So
Like
you didn't get that.
I didn't, but I'm not saying it says no
Right,
to Paul
of course
George.
not.
No, it didn't scream much to me at all. But I'll tell you what, man. Those New York Knicks, they're fun to watch.
Yep.
And if you
It's a
like
fun club to
basketball,
watch.
that was a great game last
They
night.
trading Randall this offseason?
Very well could.
I would.
Yeah.
I think they've gotten better since he's gotten
And then they
hurt.
can free up that to be able to sign somebody, bring somebody else in.
We'll see. Bobby, what do you got on the show today? I know it's Amy for 4 hours.
Amy for 4 hours. We have Tom McCarthy's going to join us at noon.
Nice.
And then yesterday's Broad Street run winner, Kevin McDonald, is going to join us at 12:30.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, that's
I just
great.
want to talk
He's
to him
getting
like,
some love. He's
yeah,
getting some love
hey,
locally.
you coming first out of 42,000 people. That ain't bad.
You're the man, Bobby.
Hey,
we'll be listening.
Support life-saving cancer research. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. Hey, join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives.
We'll be back at it tomorrow, an Adam Schefter Wednesday, and tomorrow, John Kincade will be a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Not because of your athletic abilities, but because of what you've done in, the media world. So
Yeah, that's
congratulations,
fine. It is.
Johnny.
Appreciate that, whatever it is. I appreciate y'all. I look forward to seeing you tonight.
Yep, we'll be back at it tomorrow. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.